The ancients knew a profound truth, one that whispers to us from behind the noise of the modern world. They understood that the universe does not merely react to what you do, but to who you are. Your very presence is a message, a frequency broadcast into the cosmos long before a single word is spoken. It is a vibration of your inner state, and the world, in its infinite intelligence, cannot help but respond to it. And yet, we are taught the very opposite. We are told to be tactical, to be diplomatic, to present a carefully constructed version of ourselves in order to navigate the complexities of human connection. We are handed 1,000 masks, each one promising acceptance, each one promising success. A mask for work, a mask for family, a mask for love, a mask for strangers. We learn the scripts, we play the parts, and we become actors in the grand theater of our own lives. But the soul was not made to live behind a mask. It suffocates there. A deep and quiet exhaustion comes from the constant performance, a hollowness that no amount of external approval can ever fill. You feel it, don't you? That silent ache of the authentic self, longing for a single breath of fresh, unfiltered air. You crave connection, real connection, yet find yourself building walls with the very tools meant to build bridges. You long to be seen, yet you spend your days hiding. This is the great paradox of our time. This journey we are about to take together is not another lesson in social strategy. We will not be adding another, more clever mask to your collection. Instead, we will be doing something far more radical, far more courageous. We will be taking them all off, one by one. This is an invitation to travel inward, to move past the clamor of the ego, past the demands of the world, and to find the silent, unshakable center within you, the still point of the turning world. For a secret lies there, waiting for you. It is the secret of effortless influence, of authentic power. It is the realization that true skill in dealing with the world, true tact, true grace, does not come from a learned script, but flows naturally, powerfully, from a being who is utterly at home with itself. We are not here to learn how to act. We are here to remember how to be. And in that remembering, you will find a power more potent than any strategy and a peace more valuable than any applause. Let us begin, not with a command, but with a quiet observation. I want you to feel the space you are in, the gentle pressure of the air on your skin, the solid ground beneath you. And now, I want you to bring your awareness to something you have carried for so long. You may have forgotten it is even there. It is the first and most loyal of your creations, your protector, your ambassador, your mask. Think back to the first time you consciously crafted it. Perhaps you were a child, learning that a certain smile would placate an angry parent, or that silence would make you invisible to the schoolyard bully. It was an act of intelligence, a strategy for survival. You found a character that worked, a version of you that could navigate the unpredictable currents of the world. This character knew what to say. It knew how to stand. It knew how to be agreeable, or impressive, or invisible, whatever the scene required. Imagine your mind as a grand old theater, and you, the soul, as the director. This character you created was your first star actor, and when you sent it out onto the stage of life, the world applauded. Or, at the very least, it stopped throwing stones. The mask was a success. It kept you safe. So you sent it out again and again. You gave it better lines, a more convincing costume. You perfected its gestures, softened its voice, hardened its gaze. You became a master craftsman of this persona. The actor became so skilled, so believable, that it could handle almost any situation. It could charm its way through an interview. It could absorb criticism without flinching. It could attend a party and say all the right things to all the right people. And you, the soul, sat back in the director's chair relieved. The performance was a success. The theater was safe. But a performance, by its very nature, requires energy, a constant, draining output of force. The actor never truly rests. Even off stage, it is rehearsing its lines, worrying about the next scene. The smile it wears begins to ache the muscles in your jaw. The confident posture begins to strain your shoulders. A subtle, persistent hum of inauthenticity begins to vibrate through your entire being. It is the low-grade fever of a soul that is not living its own truth. This is the weight of the mask. It is not a sudden burden, but a slow, creeping accretion, like dust settling on a forgotten statue. At first, it is unnoticeable, but over years, decades, the dust becomes a thick, heavy crust, obscuring the original form, chilling the stone beneath. You have carried this weight for so long that you have mistaken it for the very substance of who you are. The exhaustion you feel at the end of the day, you call it a long day at work. The emptiness you feel in a crowded room, you call it being an introvert. The quiet desperation that sometimes visits you in the dead of night, you call it just life. But what if it is none of those things? What if it is simply the colossal, crushing weight of holding a pose that is not your own? The energy it takes to suppress your true, spontaneous reaction and replace it with the scripted one. The effort required to curate every word, to manage every impression. The constant, vigilant monitoring of the self. This is not living, this is managing. This is a lifelong performance for an audience that is perpetually distracted. The metaphor of the actor deepens here. An actor who plays the same role for too long begins to lose themselves in it. They go home, take off the costume, wash away the makeup, but when they look in the mirror, they see the character's eyes staring back. Their own thoughts begin to sound like the character's lines. They forget what it feels like to just be. The mask is no longer a tool they pick up. It has fused to their skin. This is the true cost. It is not just the exhaustion. It is the slow erasure of the self. You begin to forget what you truly like, what you truly believe, what you truly feel. Your preferences are replaced by the preferences of your persona. Your opinions are outsourced to the group you wish to belong to. Your feelings, the sacred compass of your soul, are deemed inconvenient, unprofessional, or inappropriate, and are locked away in the basement of the theater. You might be listening to this now, and a part of you, the logical part, the part that is the mask itself, might be arguing. This is necessary, it says. This is how the world works. You cannot be your raw, unfiltered self. It is not safe. The mask will always defend its own existence. It will tell you that without it, you will be rejected, you will be judged, you will be alone. It offers you a transaction, your authenticity, in exchange for a fragile sense of belonging. But let us examine that promise. Is it truly belonging if the person they accept is not you? Is it truly connection if it is built upon a foundation of pretense? The connection you make through your mask is a connection to another mask. It is a sterile, hollow affair. A meeting of two beautifully crafted statues, with no life, no warmth, no heart beating within. The love you receive feels distant because it is addressed to your representative, not to you. The success you achieve feels empty because it was the actor who won the award, not the soul who dreamed the dream. I want to invite you, just for a moment, to feel the reality of this weight. You don't need to do anything about it. You don't need to fight it or tear it away. The first step is always awareness, gentle, compassionate awareness. Bring your attention to your body. Can you feel a tightness in your throat where unspoken words reside? Can you feel a tension in your shoulders as if you are bracing for a blow? Can you feel a subtle clenching in your stomach, the center of your intuition, trying to warn you of a misalignment? These are not just physical symptoms. This is the language of your soul. This is the friction of the mask against your true skin. This is its weight, made manifest in your flesh. When was the last time you laughed? A deep, uninhibited belly laugh, without a thought for how it sounded. When was the last time you cried without apology? When was the last time you said, "I don't know," without feeling like a failure? When was the last time you did something for the simple, pure joy of it, with no audience to impress? Somewhere, underneath the layers of who you are supposed to be, is who you are. That person is still there. It has not gone anywhere. It is simply waiting. Waiting patiently. It is the part of you that is moved by a certain piece of music. The part of you that feels a sense of wonder looking at the stars. The part of you that knows, with a certainty beyond all logic, that there is more to this life than performance. To acknowledge the mask is not to condemn yourself. It is an act of profound self-compassion. See it for what it was. A shield. A brilliant, necessary shield that a younger version of you created to protect something precious and vulnerable. Thank this actor. Thank it for its long years of service. Thank it for getting you this far. It has done its job beautifully, but its contract is now expiring. You are strong enough now to step out from behind the curtain. You are ready to learn how to be safe in your own skin. The weight you feel is the gravitational pull of your own authentic self, calling you home. It is a sacred ache. It is the first pang of spiritual rebirth. By simply noticing it, by allowing yourself to feel the exhaustion and the hollowness without judgment, you have already begun the process of liberation. You have opened the door to the theater's dusty backstage and let in a single, transformative ray of light. And as that light illuminates the space, a question naturally arises, a question that hangs in the quiet air between the costumes and the props. Why? Why was this elaborate performance necessary in the first place? To let something go, we must understand why we held on so tightly. We must turn and face the phantom that the actor was hired to distract us from. We must walk into the room whose door the mask was designed to guard. We must be willing to listen to the sound that echoes there. We stand now in that quiet, backstage space, the weight of the mask acknowledged, its form resting at our feet. And here, in this moment of truth, we ask the essential question, why? Why did we craft this elaborate defense? Why did we agree to carry such a heavy burden for so long? The answer is not complex. It is primal. We did it because we were afraid. We now step out of the theater and into the architecture of that fear itself. Imagine a room with no windows and a single heavy door through which you just entered. The walls of this room are not made of stone or wood. They are made of mirrors, angled perfectly to reflect one another into infinity. And the air in this room is not still. It is filled with a constant, overlapping whisper. This is the echo chamber of fear. It is the source code of the mask. You did not build this room consciously. It was constructed in the dark, from the raw materials of your most vulnerable moments. Let us listen, with courage and compassion, to the whispers that reverberate here. What are they saying? The first and loudest echo is the fear of judgment. It is the whisper that says, they are watching you, they see your flaws, they are cataloging your mistakes. This fear turns the world into a courtroom, and every person you meet into a judge and jury. It creates the sensation of being under a relentless, invisible spotlight. You find yourself rehearsing conversations before they happen, and dissecting them for hours after they are over. Did I sound intelligent? Did I seem confident? Did they notice that moment of hesitation? This fear is a merciless perfectionist. It demands an impossible standard, and the mask it creates is one of flawless competence, of unshakable poise. It is a heavy, rigid mask, and it allows for no mistakes, no vulnerability, no humanity. This fear has ancient roots. For our tribal ancestors, judgment and ostracism from the group could mean death. Your nervous system still carries that primal memory. It believes your very survival depends on a flawless performance. Listen deeper now. Beneath that first echo, there is a more painful whisper. It is the fear of not being loved, which is another way of saying the fear of rejection. This is the core wound of the inner child. It is the belief that who you are, in your natural, unfiltered state, is somehow unworthy of love. The whisper says, if they see the real you, they will leave. If you show your neediness, your anger, your sadness, your messy, beautiful human truth, you will be abandoned. And so, you create a mask of agreeableness, a people-pleasing persona that is endlessly accommodating, perpetually cheerful, and pathologically incapable of saying no. This mask sacrifices its own needs on the altar of another's approval. It laughs at jokes it doesn't find funny. It agrees with opinions it does not share. It swallows its truth like a bitter pill to keep the peace. It lives in constant, low-level anxiety, terrified that the moment it stops pleasing, it will lose the conditional acceptance it has worked so hard to maintain. It starves its own soul to feed others a comfortable illusion. And now, listen to the deepest, most foundational echo in the chamber. It is often the quietest, but it is the one that powers all the others. It is the sound of your own voice whispering to yourself, "I am not enough, not good enough, not smart enough, not successful enough, not attractive enough, not spiritual enough, just not enough." This is the ultimate fear, the fear of your own insufficiency. It is a profound sense of lack at the very core of your being. And the mask created from this fear is one of compensation. If you fear you are not smart, you create a mask of intellectualism, using big words and complex theories. If you fear you are weak, you create a mask of aggression and control. If you fear you are uninteresting, you create a mask of constant entertainment and drama. These masks are designed to shout over the terrible whisper of not enough. They are loud, they are often impressive, but they are hollow. They are beautiful, empty shells placed over a perceived void. This is the nature of the echo chamber. It is a self-sustaining system. The mirrors do not generate their own light. They only reflect the fears you bring into the room. The whispers are not objective truths. They are your own thoughts, amplified and distorted. The chamber works through a simple, devastating trick. It convinces you that its reflections are reality. It projects your inner fears onto the screen of the future, creating an endless reel of what-if scenarios. What if I ask for a raise and they laugh at me? What if I express my love and it is not returned? What if I try something new and fail spectacularly? You become so fixated on these terrifying projections in the mirrors that you forget you are standing in a room of your own creation. You spend your life fighting the reflections, arguing with the echoes, trying to rearrange the furniture in a phantom room, all while the real you stands paralyzed in the center. We believe that to conquer this fear, we must be brave. We must shout back at the whispers. We must smash the mirrors. But this is a misunderstanding of the chamber's physics. Shouting only creates more echoes. Smashing a mirror only creates 1,000 smaller, sharper, more distorted reflections. The chamber feeds on your struggle. Your resistance is its lifeblood. So what is the way out? The way out is not through battle, but through a radical shift in awareness. I invite you now to become the observer of the chamber, not its prisoner. Take a deep breath, and for a moment, just listen to the whispers without believing them. Let the fear of judgment arise. Don't push it away, don't argue with it, just notice it. Ah, there it is, the familiar feeling of being watched. Notice where it lives in your body, a tightness in your chest, a heat in your face. Just observe. It is an energy, a sensation. It is not the truth of who you are. Now let the fear of rejection surface, the painful ache of potential abandonment. Let it be there. See it not as a prophecy, but as a memory, a recording of an old pain being played on a loop. You do not have to live inside that memory. You can stand outside of it, observing it with the compassion you would offer a crying child. And finally, allow the feeling of not enough to be present, the sense of lack. Watch it. Feel its texture, its temperature, its vibration. See it for what it is, a belief, a powerful, deeply ingrained belief, but a belief nonetheless. It is not a fact carved in stone. It is a thought that you have thought so many times it has carved a groove in your mind. In this moment of pure observation, something miraculous happens. the echoes begin to lose their power. They need your belief to survive. They need your engagement to continue their reverberation. When you simply watch them, without judgment, without resistance, they begin to fade. The reflections in the mirrors begin to seem transparent, less solid. You are disidentifying from the fear. You are realizing, on a level deeper than thought, that you are not the fear. You are the space in which the fear is happening. You are the silence that holds the noise. This is the beginning of freedom. Not a freedom that comes from destroying the fear, but a freedom that comes from no longer being ruled by it. The chamber may still exist for a while. The whispers may still arise from time to time, but they no longer have authority. You no longer mistake the reflection for yourself. To escape a room of mirrors, you do not need to fight the images. You simply need to find the door that was always there. This door does not lead to another strategy, another argument, or another mask. It leads out of the noise entirely. It leads to a place where the echoes of fear cannot travel, a place of profound, restorative, and powerful stillness. It is to this place we will travel next. It is the sanctuary. We have stood at the threshold, listening to the cacophony within the echo chamber of fear. We have observed its reflections, we have felt its tremors, and we have chosen not to fight. Instead, we turn our back on the hall of mirrors. Before us is a simple, unadorned door. It has no handle of gold, no intricate carvings. It is humble, plain, and ancient. This is the door to the sanctuary. And now, with gentle intention, we open it and step through. Do not expect a clap of thunder or a chorus of angels. The first thing you will notice upon entering the sanctuary is nothing. A profound and unsettling stillness. For a mind accustomed to the constant noise of the echo chamber, this initial silence can feel like a void. It can feel empty, barren, even boring. The ego, the performer, the inner narrator, panics in this space. It has nothing to analyze, nothing to react to, nothing to control. It may try to pull you back into the familiar chaos of the mirrored room, whispering, "This is useless. There is nothing for you here." Acknowledge this resistance. See it as the frantic energy of a lifelong prisoner taking his first steps into an open field. Be patient. Your only task here is to stay, to allow your inner ears to adjust to the quiet, to let the dust of your frantic thinking begin to settle. We are like a person who has spent their entire life on the shore of a raging sea, believing the ocean is nothing but violent waves and chaotic foam. They have studied the patterns of the surf, the crashing of the breakers, the pull of the undertow. They have become an expert on the turmoil of the surface, but they have never known the vast, silent, and powerful world that lies just beneath. The sanctuary is the act of diving just below the surface into the deep, quiet heart of the ocean of your own being. Our first anchor in this dive is the breath. Bring your awareness to it now. Do not try to change it. Do not breathe deeply or slowly on purpose. Simply observe. Feel the sensation of the air entering your nostrils, cool and fresh. Follow its path down into your lungs. Feel the gentle expansion of your chest and belly, and then notice the pause, the moment of perfect stillness at the peak of the inhalation. Then observe the exhale, the release, the letting go, the slight warmth of the air as it leaves your body. Stay with this for a few moments. In-breath and out-breath. This simple rhythmic act is the most powerful tool you possess. It is an anchor thrown from the ship of your awareness into the deep, calm waters of the present moment. The echoes of fear live in the future, in the what-ifs. The shadows of regret live in the past. But the breath is always, only, now. Each time your mind is pulled back toward the mirrored room, gently, without judgment, guide it back to the sensation of your breathing. The anchor will hold you. As you rest here, anchored in the breath, we can deepen our exploration. Bring your awareness to the feeling of life within your body. Can you feel a subtle tingling in your hands, a warmth in the palms of your hands, a aliveness in your fingertips? You don't need to imagine it. It is already there. It is the silent, humming energy of your own life force. Let your awareness fill your hands completely. Now, allow that awareness to expand. Feel the same sense of aliveness in your feet, resting on the floor. Feel it in your legs, your arms, your torso. Allow your entire body to become a vibrant field of sensation. This is the feeling of being, stripped of all stories, all labels, all judgments. This is the feeling of your own presence. Notice that this feeling has no words. It does not have an opinion. It does not worry about tomorrow. It is simply, quietly, intensely alive. You are not just a mind that thinks. You are a vast field of presence that feels. Rest in that feeling. It is a refuge. It is real. From this place of embodied presence, let us now observe the mind itself. You may notice that even in this quiet space, thoughts still arise. A stray worry about an email, a memory from yesterday, a plan for dinner. This is natural. The mind produces thoughts, just as a cloud produces rain. The mistake we have always made is to believe that we are the thoughts. Imagine you are sitting at the bottom of that deep, silent ocean. You look up, and far above, on the surface you can see the waves, the thoughts, moving across the water. From this depth, you can see them clearly. You can see a thought of anxiety approach, crest, and then dissolve. You can see a thought of boredom drift by, but you are not the wave. You are the vast, still water in which the wave is happening. You are the sky, not the clouds that pass through it. For the first time, you are not entangled in your thoughts. You are the silent witness of them. And in this witnessing, you discover something incredible. Between each thought, there is a gap, a tiny space of pure, unadorned silence. At first, it may be fleeting, a microsecond. But as you become more interested in the silence than in the thoughts, these gaps begin to widen. This silence is not an absence. It is not a void. It is a presence. It is the background of pure awareness against which all of life happens. It is the canvas upon which the mind paints its pictures. For your entire life, you have been mesmerized by the paintings, forgetting the existence of the canvas itself. But without the canvas, there could be no painting. This silent awareness is your essential nature. It is who you were before you were given a name, before you were told a story about who you should be. It is indestructible. It is eternal. It is peace itself. There is nothing for you to do to achieve this. You cannot force silence. You can only allow it to reveal itself. It is already here. It has always been here. It is the foundation of your house, which you have ignored while living in a frantic state in the attic. All that is required is that you stop, you listen, and you rest. Rest in this stillness. Feel the frantic, contracted energy of fear begin to dissolve in this vast, open space. The whispers of the echo chamber cannot survive here. Fear needs a cluttered, noisy mind to thrive. It feeds on panicked thoughts and future projections. In the simple, present-moment reality of this silent sanctuary, fear has no oxygen. It simply fades away. Feel the relief. Feel the homecoming. This is your true nature. This is your birthright, not the anxiety, not the performance, not the weight of the mask. This silent, peaceful, intelligent presence. You are not the actor. You are not the character. You are not even the director. You are the silent, loving space of the theater itself, in which the whole play of life unfolds. As you rest here, in the heart of the sanctuary, you may begin to notice something new. When the clamor of fear subsides, you start to hear a different kind of sound. It is not a voice made of words. It is a guidance system that speaks in the language of feeling. A gentle pull, a quiet knowing, a deep and simple sense of yes that resonates through your entire being, or a subtle feeling of resistance that tells you no. This is the voice of intuition, the voice of your true self. It does not shout, it does not argue or try to convince you. It speaks from the stillness. To hear it, you must first learn to be still. The sanctuary is not just a refuge, it is a listening post. It is the place you come to receive your instructions, to find your true north. It is the home of your inner compass. You are resting now in the great sanctuary of silence. The echoes of fear have faded, and the frantic energy of the performer has subsided. In this stillness, you have begun to sense something new, a quiet knowing, a subtle guidance. This is the great discovery that changes everything. You are not lost. You have never been lost. You have simply forgotten that you carry, within the very core of your being, a perfect and infallible guidance system. We will call it the inner compass. For your entire life, you have been taught to navigate by external maps. The map of your parents' expectations. The map of society's definition of success. The map of religious or cultural dogma. The map of your own logical, analytical mind, with its endless pros and cons lists. We are a culture of map readers. We collect maps, we compare them, we follow them diligently, and we are terrified of going off map. But here is the profound truth that has been overlooked. A map is useless if you do not know which way you are facing. Without a compass, a map is just a piece of paper. The greatest tragedy of our modern world is not that we have been given faulty maps, but that we have been taught to distrust our own compass. We have been told it is unreliable, that it is driven by childish emotion, that it is naive and impractical. And so, we place this sacred instrument in a dusty box and learn to navigate by the confusing and often contradictory maps of the outside world. We have been trying to find our way north while holding the map upside down. The journey we are on now is about retrieving that compass, cleaning its glass, and learning once again to trust its simple, unwavering needle. So, how does one read this compass? It does not speak in the language of words, the language of the mind. Its language is far older and more direct. It is the language of the body. It is the language of energy. The compass communicates through two simple, unmistakable signals: expansion and contraction. Let us first explore true north, the signal of expansion. Think of a time you made a decision that felt deeply, unshakably right. It might not have made sense on paper. Others may have questioned it. But in your bones, you knew it was the way. Bring that memory to mind now. As you do, recall the physical sensation that accompanied it. There was likely a feeling of opening, of lightness. A subtle warmth may have spread through your chest. Your breathing might have deepened, effortlessly. It felt like a release, a sense of flow, as if you were a river that had just found its natural course to the sea. This feeling of expansion, of resonance, of a deep and peaceful yes, this is the needle of your compass pointing true north. This is your soul communicating that a choice, a person, or a path is in alignment with your authentic self. Now let us explore the opposite signal, the needle pointing south. This is the feeling of contraction. Think of a time you said yes to something when your entire being was screaming no. Perhaps it was taking a job you knew you would hate, staying in a relationship that drained you, or attending a social event out of sheer obligation. Remember the moment you agreed. What did it feel like in your body? There was likely a tightening, a knot in the pit of your stomach, a subtle clenching in your jaw or your fists. It felt like friction, like forcing a puzzle piece into the wrong space. You may have felt your energy drain away, as if a plug had been pulled. This feeling of resistance, of heaviness, of your body subtly closing itself off. This is the compass needle swinging south. It is the clear, unambiguous signal that something is out of alignment with your truth. At this point, the analytical mind, the map reader, will interject with a clever question. But isn't fear also a contraction? How can I distinguish between the compass guiding me away from something and my own fear holding me back from growth? This is a vital distinction to make. Fear, the voice from the echo chamber, is loud, frantic, and comes with a story. Its contraction is agitated and chaotic. It screams about all the terrible things that might happen in the future. It feels like panicked static. The no of fear is hot, anxious, and scattered. The no of the inner compass is entirely different. It is quiet, solid, and deep. It does not need a dramatic story. It is simply a calm, grounded, and heavy sensation of, "This is not for me." The no from your compass, even when it is guiding you away from something the world deems desirable, is always accompanied by an undercurrent of peace. There is a strange relief in its certainty. The mind might be terrified, but the soul is at rest. Peace is the ultimate arbiter. Let that be your guide. A true direction from your compass, whether it is a yes or a no, will always lead you toward a deeper sense of inner peace. Let us try a small experiment right now. Bring to mind a small, low-stakes decision you are currently facing. It could be what to eat for your next meal, whether to accept a minor social invitation, or which book to read next. Do not choose a life-altering decision for this practice. Start small. Now, close your eyes. Return to the sanctuary of your breath. Feel the stillness of your inner body. Once you feel centered, present the first option to yourself. For example, hold the thought, "I will go to that party on Saturday." Do not think about it. Do not list the pros and cons. Simply hold the intention and notice what happens in your body. Is there a subtle opening in your chest, a feeling of lightness? Or is there a slight tightening, a barely perceptible feeling of dread? Be honest. There is no right answer. There is only your truth. Now, let that go. Take a cleansing breath and present the second option to yourself. "I will stay home on Saturday and rest." Again, just notice. What is the immediate, unfiltered somatic response? Is it expansion or contraction? Let your body speak to you. It has been trying to for a very long time. This is how you begin to build a relationship with your compass. You start with the small things. You honor the small nudges. You choose the meal that makes your body feel light. You walk down the street that feels expansive. You say no to the small request that brings a feeling of contraction. Each time you listen to the compass and find that it leads you to a better feeling place, you build a new neural pathway of trust. You are proving to yourself, on an experiential level, that this inner guidance is real and reliable. You are recalibrating your entire being to its own truth. As you practice this, you will find that the compass becomes more and more sensitive, and your ability to read it becomes more effortless. You will begin to navigate your life not from a place of fearful mental calculation, but from a place of deep, intuitive flow. You will know who to trust, what projects to pursue, and when to speak and when to be silent, all by referring to this simple, internal feeling of resonance. You are becoming the authority in your own life. But here we arrive at the next great challenge of this journey. The compass is an instrument of truth. It is not an instrument of convenience. To read the compass is one thing. To have the courage to follow it is another entirely. For its needle will inevitably point you away from the well-trodden maps. It may point you toward a path that your family does not understand, that your friends do not approve of, that society deems foolish or irresponsible. It may ask you to leave behind what is safe and familiar. Knowing your true north is the first step. But what happens when that direction challenges everything you have built, everything you thought you were? What is required then is not just an ability to read your inner state, but the courage to honor it. It requires a profound willingness to be on your own side, no matter what. It demands the most radical act of all, the act of accepting yourself, completely and without condition. You have found your way to the sanctuary of silence. You have discovered the sacred instrument of your inner compass. And now you face the greatest challenge and the most profound invitation of the spiritual path. The compass points you toward your truth, but your mind, conditioned by a lifetime of maps, rebels, It looks at the direction indicated by your soul and declares it to be wrong, foolish, or dangerous. This inner conflict, this friction between who you are and who you think you should be, is the source of immense suffering. It arises from the most deeply ingrained and toxic belief of our culture. The belief that you are a problem to be solved. We live in a state of constant self-improvement, which sounds noble, but is often just self-rejection in a more socially acceptable costume. We are at war with ourselves. A war against our bodies, a war against our emotions, a war against our past, a war against our own nature. We spend our lives trying to fix, manage, and upgrade the self, as if it were a faulty piece of software. This is an unwinnable war. It is a battle that consumes all of our life force, leaving us perpetually exhausted and with the constant, nagging feeling that we are never quite good enough. The radical act of self-acceptance is the declaration of a ceasefire in this brutal internal war. It is not an act of resignation or apathy. It is not giving up. It is the wisest, most courageous, and most transformative action you can possibly take. It is the laying down of your weapons and turning to face yourself with an open heart. Let us be clear about what acceptance is. It is not saying that your current behaviors or circumstances will never change. It is the understanding that your fundamental worth is not, and has never been, conditional upon those changes. It is the difference between renovating a house because you are ashamed of it and want to sell it, and renovating a house because you love it and want to live in it more joyfully. The actions may look similar from the outside, but the energy behind them is worlds apart. One is born of fear and shame, the other is born of love and devotion. All lasting, positive change grows from the fertile soil of self-acceptance. The truest work of this practice is to turn toward the parts of yourself that you have deemed unacceptable, the parts you have hidden in the basement of your psyche, the parts you have disowned and exiled. This is your shadow self, and it holds the keys to your wholeness. Let us start with your so-called negative emotions, your anger, your jealousy, your sadness, your fear. You have been taught that these are problems. You have been told to think positive, to suppress your grief, to manage your anger. Acceptance invites a different approach. It sees these emotions not as enemies, but as sacred messengers. Your anger is a messenger telling you a boundary has been crossed. Your sadness is a messenger telling you something needs to be mourned and released. Your fear is a messenger telling you to pay attention. To accept these emotions is to allow them to deliver their message without judgment. You allow the wave of anger to rise and fall within your body without needing to lash out. You allow the river of grief to flow without believing you will drown in it. You are the loving space in which all weather patterns of emotion are allowed to exist. Now consider the aspects of your personality you have judged as flaws. The part of you that procrastinates, the part that is socially awkward, the part that is disorganized or impatient. For your entire life, you have fought these traits. You have shamed yourself for them. Acceptance asks you to approach them with curiosity instead of condemnation. What if your laziness is not a moral failing, but a profound wisdom from your body, begging for rest in a culture obsessed with productivity? What if your social awkwardness is not a defect, but a sign of a beautifully sensitive nervous system that is overwhelmed by superficial interactions? When you stop fighting these traits and instead listen to them, they cease to be your enemies and become your teachers. And what of your past, the catalog of mistakes, failures, and embarrassing moments that your mind loves to replay? You carry this history like a bag of heavy stones on your back. Radical self-acceptance is the conscious act of putting the bag down. It is looking at the younger version of you who made those choices and seeing them not with condemnation, but with profound compassion. You did the best you could with the awareness and the resources you had at that time. To forgive yourself is to accept your humanity. It is to finally stop punishing yourself for learning. Imagine you are a magnificent oak tree growing in a forest. From a young age, you are told that the most beautiful and valuable trees are the willows, with their elegant, flexible branches that weep gracefully to the ground. You look at your own sturdy trunk and your strong, gnarled limbs, and you feel a deep sense of shame. You begin to try to be a willow. You try to force your branches to droop, an act which is exhausting and unnatural. You feel like a failure because you are such a terrible willow. The radical act of self-acceptance is the moment the oak tree finally realizes, in its very sap, I am an oak. I was never meant to be a willow. My strength is my gift. My solidity is my purpose. The way my leaves catch the sunlight is my unique beauty. There is nothing wrong with being an oak tree. In fact, it is my entire glory. You are an oak. Stop trying to be a willow. I invite you now into a small practice of this acceptance. Bring your awareness inward. Gently scan your being and allow a part of yourself that you usually dislike or judge to come to mind. It may be a physical feature, a personality trait, a recurring emotion. Do not choose the biggest, most charged issue, just something small that you carry a resistance to. Now, instead of your usual reaction, pushing it away, criticizing it, numbing yourself to it, I want you to try something new. I want you to soften your body, and I want you to greet this part of yourself. In the privacy of your own heart, say hello to it. Acknowledge its presence. Let us say it is a feeling of anxiety. Instead of fighting it, you whisper inwardly, "Ah, anxiety, I see you are here. Welcome." You allow the physical sensations of it to be there without needing them to change. You are giving it permission to exist. You are laying down your weapons. Now, go one step further. See if you can extend a feeling of gratitude toward it. Thank you for trying to protect me. I know you are here because you are trying to keep me safe. You are changing your relationship to it, from one of adversary to one of ally. And finally, see if you can offer it love. Wrap this anxious part of you in a blanket of warm, unconditional acceptance. Say to it, "You are a part of me. You belong here. I will no longer treat you as an enemy. You are welcome to rest in the loving space of my awareness." Feel what happens in your body when you do this. You may notice a softening, a release of tension, a deep, quiet peace. This is the feeling of the inner war ending. This is the feeling of coming home to yourself. When you stop fighting yourself, an incredible amount of energy is liberated. All the life force that was being poured into self-criticism, suppression, and shame is now free. It becomes available to you for healing, for creativity, for love. This changes your entire energetic signature. You stop broadcasting a frequency of inner conflict and start radiating a coherent, powerful frequency of wholeness. Your inner world and your outer world begin to align, not because you force them to, but because there is no longer any resistance between them. This state of profound inner alignment, where what you are and what you lovingly accept you are become one and the same, is the foundation of a truly powerful presence in the world. It is the basis for what we can call vibrational integrity. You have walked the path of radical self-acceptance. You have declared a ceasefire in the long and pointless war against yourself. In the stillness that follows this truce, a vast reservoir of energy, once wasted on internal conflict, has been liberated. This reclaimed energy does not lie dormant. It begins to organize itself, to cohere, to hum with a newfound power. This is the dawn of vibrational integrity. Let us first understand what this means, for the term is often misunderstood. This is not a fanciful or metaphorical concept. It is the simple, practical physics of your being. Imagine that you are a powerful broadcasting tower, standing in the center of the universe. Every moment of every day, you are sending out a signal. This signal is composed of everything that constitutes your inner world. Your conscious thoughts are a part of it, yes, but they are merely the flashing lights at the top of the tower. The true power of your broadcast comes from the deep, humming generators in the foundation. Your subconscious beliefs, your emotional set points, your deepest assumptions about yourself and the world. Vibrational integrity is the state where the lights at the top of the tower are flashing in perfect harmony with the powerful current from the generators below. It is a state of total, radical inner coherence. For most of our lives, we exist in a state of vibrational dissonance. It is a state of inner chaos that we have come to accept as normal. We send out a barrage of contradictory signals. A thought of desire, I want a loving relationship, is broadcast simultaneously with a deep, powerful feeling of unworthiness, I am not lovable. We perform an action of seeking connection, going on a date, while broadcasting a subconscious belief that people will ultimately hurt me. The universe, which is a perfect and impersonal mirror of energy, receives this chaotic, static-filled signal and can only reflect chaos back to you. It reflects back relationships that are confusing, contradictory, and ultimately confirm your deepest, most powerful belief, that you will be hurt. You then look at this result and say, "See, I was right." You have used the magnificent power of your being to prove your own limitations true. This is the tragic cycle of a life lived without vibrational integrity. To be Ko Leo, to be truly skillful and powerful in the world, is not about learning to send a more clever signal. It is about learning to send a clear one. To achieve this clarity, we must align the three great pillars of our being: our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions. Let us first examine the pillar of thought. Your thoughts are not harmless, ephemeral puffs of smoke. Every single thought is an energetic blueprint. It is a seed. While a single, fleeting, negative thought has little power, a thought that is thought over and over again, a thought that is fertilized by strong emotion and watered by repetition, becomes a dominant frequency in your broadcast. The conscious mind, the part of you that is thinking right now, is only the tip of the iceberg. The subconscious mind, the vast repository of every experience, every conclusion, every belief you have ever formed, constitutes the immense mass of the iceberg beneath the water. This is where your most powerful blueprints reside. Beliefs like, life is a struggle, I have to work hard for money, or I am not a creative person, are running constantly in the background, shaping your signal without your conscious permission. The work of achieving integrity of thought is not to neurotically police every single thought you have. That is a path to madness. The work is to use the sanctuary of silence you have cultivated to become an observer of your own mind. To notice the recurring thought patterns, the habitual mental grooves. When you notice a limiting thought, you do not fight it. You simply shine the light of your awareness on it, as you did in the practice of self-acceptance. You ask, is this truly mine? Or is this a blueprint I inherited from my parents, from my culture? Does this thought feel expansive or contractive? Does it align with the person I am choosing to become? By gently questioning these old blueprints, you rob them of their unconscious power. You begin the process of consciously choosing the thoughts you wish to build. Your reality from thoughts of worthiness, abundance, and grace that you discovered are your true nature. The second pillar is the integrity of emotion. If thought is the blueprint, emotion is the powerful electric current that brings it to life. Emotion is, quite literally, energy in motion. It is the engine of creation. You can repeat positive affirmations for years, but if you do not feel their truth, you are simply reciting empty words. Your emotional state is the most accurate indicator of your vibrational broadcast at any given moment. Your inner compass, which you have already learned to read, is your personal frequency meter. The feelings of joy, love, gratitude, and peace are not just pleasant sensations, they are you, broadcasting at the highest, most powerful and coherent frequencies. To feel good is not a selfish indulgence. It is the most important spiritual work you can do. It is the act of tuning your instrument to the key of the cosmos. But what of our so-called negative emotions? Does vibrational integrity mean we must suppress sadness or anger? Absolutely not. That would be the very definition of dissonance. Integrity demands authenticity. A moment of pure, Authentic grief has more integrity, more vibrational clarity than an entire day spent forcing a fake smile. The key is to allow these emotions to be what they are, temporary weather patterns passing through the vast sky of your awareness. You feel the anger fully, you honor its message, and you allow its energy to move through you and dissipate, without letting it become the permanent climate of your being. You do not deny the storm. You simply remember that you are the sky, not the storm. Integrity means being true to the emotional energy of the present moment, whatever it may be. The third and final pillar is the integrity of action. Action is the moment the energetic blueprint, charged by the emotional current, finally crystallizes into the physical world. It is vibration made visible. When your thoughts and emotions are in a state of dissonance, your actions will be forced, heavy, and draining. This is the energy of hustle culture. It is the feeling of having to push a boulder uphill. You force yourself to go to the gym, to make the sales calls, to write the chapter, all while your inner state is screaming in resistance. This is forced action, born from the ego's fear that if you don't push, nothing will happen. Inspired action, however, is the natural consequence of vibrational integrity. When your thoughts of worthiness are aligned with your feelings of peace and joy, the right action appears effortlessly. It doesn't feel like a struggle. It feels like a joyful impulse, a magnetic pull. You don't have to force yourself. You are simply swept up in the current of your own aligned energy. You suddenly get the impulse to call an old friend, to walk into a certain bookstore, to write down an idea on a napkin. These are the whispers of the universe, guiding you along the path of least resistance toward the manifestation of your desire. An hour of inspired action is more potent than 100 hours of forced, misaligned effort. When these three pillars, thought, emotion, and action, are aligned, you become a coherent broadcasting tower. Your signal is clear, powerful, and unambiguous. You are in a state of vibrational integrity, and it is at this point that you begin to understand the true nature of how reality is created. The universe is not a stubborn entity that you must beg or bargain with. It is a vast, resonant field of infinite potential. Imagine it is a grand room filled with billions of tuning forks. There are tuning forks for every possible experience and reality. There are forks for loneliness, for struggle, for illness. There are also forks for deep love, for creative genius, for vibrant health, for effortless abundance. They are all present right now as silent potentialities. Your job is not to create a new tuning fork. Your job is to become the tuning fork of the reality you desire. When you achieve vibrational integrity, you begin to vibrate at a clear, steady frequency, let's say the frequency of peaceful abundance. By the immutable law of resonance, any tuning fork in that great room that is tuned to the same frequency must, by law, begin to vibrate in sympathy. It has no choice. The people, the opportunities, the ideas, the resources that are a match for peaceful abundance are activated by your signal and are drawn magnetically into your experience. You are not chasing them, you are not hunting them. You are simply calling them home by being of a like nature. This is the true secret of manifestation. It is not an act of getting. It is an act of being and allowing. This is why self-acceptance is the foundation of it all. As long as you believe you are unworthy, you are vibrating at the frequency of unworthiness. You can scream affirmations of abundance at the sky all day long, but you are a tuning fork of unworthy, and you will only ever activate realities that confirm that vibration. Once you truly accept yourself, you naturally begin to vibrate at the frequency of wholeness. And from that frequency, you effortlessly attract whole and complete experiences. The practice of tuning your vibration, therefore, is not about adding more techniques or strategies. It is a practice of subtraction. It is the daily, gentle commitment to letting go of everything that creates dissonance within you. It is the willingness to release the limiting thoughts, to feel and release the trapped emotions, and to stop taking actions that feel heavy and contractive. Your daily practice becomes simple. You return to the sanctuary of silence to become aware of your own broadcast. You consult your inner compass, your emotional state, to check your frequency. And you practice radical self-acceptance to heal the parts of you that are creating static in your signal. This is not a one-time fix. It is a moment-to-moment practice of returning to harmony. You notice you are out of tune, and you gently, lovingly, without judgment, guide yourself back to your center. When you live from this place of vibrational integrity, your very presence becomes a powerful force in the world. You begin to affect your environment without effort. People feel at ease around you because your energy is not chaotic or needy. Opportunities flow to you because you have become a clear channel. You embody a state of grace. And from this state, your interaction with the world changes profoundly. The first and most noticeable change occurs not in what you say, but in what you don't say. For a being in a state of perfect vibrational integrity, their silence is more potent than 1,000 unaligned words. This integrity first manifests not in clever speech or persuasive arguments, but in the deep, resonant authority of potent silence. You are now cultivating a state of vibrational integrity. Your inner world is becoming a coherent field of energy, where your thoughts, emotions, and authentic self are beginning to hum in harmony. As this inner coherence strengthens, it begins to express itself outwardly, and its first, most powerful expression is not found in what you say, but in what you choose not to say. It is found in the rediscovery of potent silence. In our modern world, we have been conditioned to fear silence. It is seen as a vacuum, an awkward pause, a social failure that must be immediately filled with noise. We fill the air with chatter, with opinions, with commentary, because the stillness feels uncomfortable. We have forgotten that the silence we fear is the empty silence of disconnected egos. The silence that arises from a place of vibrational integrity is an entirely different phenomenon. It is not an absence of sound. It is the overwhelming presence of awareness. It is not empty. It is full. It is full of the peace you have cultivated in the sanctuary. It is full of the self-acceptance you have practiced. It is full of the quiet, unshakable power of a being who is at home with themselves. This is potent silence, and it is one of the most effective tools of communication you will ever possess. Let us explore the practical magic of this silence, for it serves many functions, each one capable of transforming your interactions with the world. First, and perhaps most importantly, silence is a container for others. It is the highest form of listening. Think of the last conversation you had. Were you truly listening, or were you waiting for your turn to speak? Were you absorbing their words, or were you formulating your rebuttal, your advice, your own related story? For most people, conversation is a competitive sport, a duel of egos vying for airtime. When you enter a conversation grounded in your own silent presence, you change the entire dynamic. You are not there to compete. You are there to connect. By remaining silent, truly silent, you create a safe, spacious, and sacred container into which the other person can pour their thoughts and feelings without fear of interruption or judgment. This act is a profound gift. In the presence of your unwavering, silent attention, people begin to hear themselves for the first time. The questions they are asking you, they find they already know the answers. The problems they are describing, they begin to see the solutions. You do not need to offer advice. Your silent, compassionate presence becomes a mirror in which they can see their own wisdom reflected back at them. They will walk away from a conversation with you feeling seen, heard, and understood on a level they rarely experience. They may praise you for your wisdom when all you truly offered them was the pristine, healing space of your silence. You did not fix them. You held the space for them to fix themselves. This is a quiet and selfless form of power. Second, silence is a boundary. It is the unspoken no. In situations of conflict, manipulation, or drama, Words are often the gasoline on the fire. When someone is baiting you into an argument, trying to provoke a reaction, or attempting to draw you into their negative energy field, your most powerful response is often no response at all. A clever comeback only validates that the game is worth playing. A defensive explanation only gives them more ammunition. But a calm, centered, unwavering silence communicates something far more powerful. It communicates, "I will not participate. I will not engage with this frequency. My peace is not available for negotiation." This is not an angry, resentful silence. It is not the punitive, silent treatment. It is a graceful, conscious withdrawal of your energy. You remain present. You may even maintain eye contact, but you do not offer your life force to the conflict. You become like a great mountain in the face of a storm. The wind howls, the rain lashes, but the mountain remains, unmoved, in its silent dignity. This is deeply unsettling to a person operating from their ego. Their ego needs a fight to feel alive. When you refuse to provide that fight, the dynamic collapses. Your silence protects your energy and often de-escalates the situation more effectively than any words could. It is a boundary made, not of walls, but of stillness. Third, silence is a source of wisdom. Our society is built on the myth of the instant response. We are expected to have an immediate opinion, a quick answer, a ready solution. This pressure forces us to respond from the most superficial, programmed layers of our mind. We offer reactive, conditioned answers rather than deep, considered truths. Potent silence is the practice of creating a sacred pause between a stimulus and your response. When you are asked a question, especially a significant one, give yourself the gift of a pause. Instead of rushing to fill the space with the first thought that comes to mind, take a conscious breath. Drop into the silent sanctuary within you for a moment. In that space, you disconnect from the frantic need to appear intelligent or decisive. You connect with your inner compass. More often than not, an answer will arise from that depth that is far wiser, more aligned, and more truthful than anything your surface mind could have concocted. People will feel the resonance of this deeper truth. They will sense that your answer comes not from a place of anxiety, but from a place of knowing. Practice the sacred pause in all areas of your life. Before answering the phone, before replying to an email, before making a promise. In that space between stimulus and response lies your freedom and your wisdom. Fourth, silence is a mark of true power. The world is full of noise, of people clamoring for attention, shouting to be heard. True power has no need to shout. It is confident in its own presence. The person in a meeting who is most comfortable with the silence is often the one who holds the most authority. They do not feel the nervous compulsion to fill every gap. They speak less, but when they do, everyone listens. This is the principle of the economy of words. When you use your words sparingly and intentionally, they gain immense value. If you are someone who is constantly talking, your words become part of the background noise. But if you are someone who is grounded in a comfortable silence, the act of you speaking becomes an event. Your words land with greater impact because they arise from a place of stillness and are not diluted by constant, nervous chatter. Think of great music. A symphony that was just a relentless barrage of notes would be an unendurable noise. It is the rests, the pauses, the silence between the notes that gives the music its rhythm, its emotion, its meaning, and its beauty. Your words are the notes. Your silence is the artistry that turns them from noise into music. Use your silence to give your words their power. I want you to think back now to a time in your life when you were in the presence of someone who embodied this potent silence. Perhaps it was a grandparent, a wise teacher, a trusted mentor, or even a quiet friend. Remember what it felt like to be around them. You likely felt a sense of calm, a sense of safety. You knew you did not have to perform for them. You felt that their silence was not a judgment, but an invitation to be more fully yourself. You have already experienced the power of this silence from the outside. The journey now is to cultivate it within, to become that source of calm, centered presence for others, and most importantly, for yourself. This practice is not about becoming a timid, withdrawn mute. It is about transforming your relationship with communication itself. It is about understanding that silence is the foundation, the canvas upon which mindful speech can be painted. It is about graduating from being a nervous amateur who splashes paint everywhere to a master artist who knows the value of empty space. You have learned to be present with the canvas of silence. You now understand its texture, its depth, and its power. The next natural step is to learn how to place a single, perfect, and truthful brushstroke upon it. When you do choose to speak, when you choose to emerge from that ground of integrity and stillness, your words will no longer be mere reactions. They will be conscious creations. They will carry the weight and the peace of the silence from which they were born. They will cease to be swords, used to attack and defend, and they will become what they were always meant to be, instruments of truth, clarity, and healing. This is the art of speaking truth without the sword. You have rested in the potent field of silence. You have learned that your presence, grounded in vibrational integrity, is a communication in itself. But we are beings who live in a world of connection, and connection often requires the use of words. The journey is not to abandon language, but to learn to use it as a master artist uses a brush with intention, precision, and love. It is time to learn how to speak your truth, not as a warrior swinging a sword, but as a healer wielding a scalpel. Let us first be clear about the nature of truth itself. There are two distinct ways truth is spoken in this world. The first, and most common, is the truth of the ego. This truth is used as a weapon. Its purpose is to be right. It seeks to win arguments, to prove a point, to assign blame, and to create a sense of superiority. It is the brutal honesty that takes pleasure in its own bluntness, leaving a trail of woundedness in its wake. This truth is a sword. It is heavy, it is crude, and while it may carve out a temporary victory for the ego, it severs the possibility of true connection. Then there is the truth of the soul. This truth arises from the silent, integrated space you have been cultivating. Its purpose is not to win, but to illuminate. Its goal is not to punish, but to clarify. Its ultimate aim is to bring you and the other person into a deeper state of understanding and connection, even if that understanding is that you must walk different paths. This truth is a surgeon's scalpel. It is sharp, yes, but it is also precise, clean, and used with the sole intention to heal. To cut away what is false or infected so that health can be restored. To wield the sword requires only brute force. To use the scalpel requires stillness, skill, and a compassionate heart. We are here to learn the way of the scalpel. This art of compassionate truth rests on a few simple yet profound principles. The first principle is to always check your intention before you speak. In the sacred pause between the impulse to speak and the act of speaking, you must ask yourself the most honest question. Why am I saying this? Is my intention to help or to hurt? Am I trying to express myself for the sake of clarity, or am I trying to control their behavior? Am I attempting to build a bridge of understanding, or am I trying to drop a bomb of righteousness? Be ruthlessly honest with yourself here. Your words will be saturated with the energy of your intention. If you speak from a place of anger, pride, or revenge, your words will carry that poison, no matter how sweetly you try to coat them. If you discover that your intention is not clean, the wisest and most powerful action is to return to silence. Tend to your own inner state first. Wait until your primary intention is one of love for yourself, love for the other person, and love for the truth itself. Only then are you ready to pick up the scalpel. The second principle is to speak your experience, not their character. This is the practice of owning your truth completely. The ego's sword always attacks with you statements. You are selfish. "You never listen," "You are wrong." These statements are energetic assaults. They are judgments of the other person's entire being, and they will almost always be met with defensiveness, shutting down any possibility of progress. The scalpel of the soul works with I statements. It does not presume to know the inner reality of another. It only reports, with clean and simple honesty, on its own. Instead of, "You are so dismissive," the scalpel says, "When I share something important and I don't get a response, I feel unheard and unimportant." Instead of, "You are so unreliable," the scalpel says, "When we make plans and they change at the last minute, I feel a sense of anxiety and frustration." Can you feel the difference? The first is an attack. The second is a revelation. It is an act of profound vulnerability. You are not telling them who they are. You are bravely showing them who you are and how their actions affect your inner world. This invites empathy, not defense. It opens a door to conversation rather than slamming it shut. The third principle is to detach from the outcome. This is perhaps the most advanced and liberating step. You have checked your intention. You have spoken your truth cleanly, using I statements. Now, you must let it go. You must release all attachment to how the other person will respond. Your responsibility is to deliver the message with as much integrity and compassion as possible. Their response is their responsibility. It belongs entirely to them. Their reaction, whether it is anger, sadness, understanding, or denialist, a reflection of their own inner state, their own wounds, and their own level of awareness. To speak your truth and then demand that the other person must agree with you, validate you, or change their behavior to accommodate you is a subtle form of violence. It turns your truth into a tool of manipulation. The highest form of communication is to offer your truth as a gift, with no strings attached. You say, "This is my experience. This is what is true for me. I am sharing it with you so you can know me better." And then you allow them the dignity of their own authentic response. This radical non-attachment is what keeps your energy clean. It is what makes your communication an act of freedom rather than an act of control. Finally, the fourth principle is to choose the right environment. The surgeon does not perform a delicate operation in the middle of a chaotic battlefield. In the same way, you do not attempt to speak compassionate truth in the heat of an argument, in a crowded public place, or when either you or the other person is exhausted, hungry, or stressed. Honoring the truth means honoring the container in which it is shared. It means having the wisdom to say, "I see you are upset right now, and I have something important I want to discuss with us. Let's find a time when we are both calm to talk about it properly." This act of waiting is not avoidance, it is an act of respect for the sacredness of what you wish to share. Let's imagine a simple scenario. Your friend consistently cancels plans at the last minute. The sword approach would be to send an angry text. "You did it again. I can't believe how flaky you are. I'm done making plans with you." This is the ego's truth. It is accusatory, absolute, and designed to punish. Now, let's consider the scalpel approach. You would wait for a calm moment, perhaps the next time you connect. You would check your intention, ensuring it is to preserve the friendship and clarify your feelings, not just to vent. Then you might say, "I want to share something that's been on my mind because our friendship is important to me. I've noticed that when we make plans, they often get canceled last minute. When that happens, I feel disappointed and a little hurt because I really look forward to our time together. It starts to make me feel like I can't rely on our plans." You then pause, holding a space of silence, detached from their response. This approach is honest and vulnerable. It doesn't attack their character, flaky. It states you're feeling disappointed and hurt, and opens the door for a real conversation about what is happening. This practice of speaking compassionate truth is the foundation for authentic connection. But its application does not end there. It extends to the very structure of your life. For the most fundamental and often the most difficult truth you will ever have to speak, is the truth of your own limits. Sometimes the most honest, compassionate, and healing statement you can make is a simple, clear, and unwavering no. This no is not a rejection of another person. It is a powerful affirmation of yourself. It is the verbalization of where you end and another being begins. It is the act of claiming sovereignty over your own energy and your own life. This leads us directly to one of the most vital and profoundly misunderstood spiritual practices. It is the art of building a fence around the sacred garden of your life, not to keep others out, but to protect the precious things growing within. This is the practice of creating sacred boundaries. You have learned to stand in your silence. You have learned to speak your truth with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Now we arrive at the most practical, and for many, the most challenging application of this inner work. We arrive at the art of creating boundaries. The very word can feel harsh, like a wall of stone, a declaration of separation. We have been taught that to be a good, spiritual, or loving person is to be endlessly open, giving, and available. To set a boundary can feel like an act of selfishness, a failure of compassion. Today, we will dismantle that toxic myth. We will reclaim the boundary not as a wall that pushes others away, but as a fence that protects a sacred space. It is not an act of aggression, but an act of profound self-respect. It is not about controlling others. It is about taking radical responsibility for the stewardship of your own life. Imagine that your inner world, your peace, your time, your emotional energy, your creativity is a beautiful, sacred garden. You are its sole keeper. Within this garden grow the most precious and delicate flowers, your joy, your inspiration, your stillness, your love. For years you may have left the gate to this garden wide open. You believed this was an act of generosity. But what happens to a garden without a fence? Passers-by trample the flowers. Wild animals come in and eat the tender shoots. The soil becomes compacted and barren. In your attempt to be open to everyone, you have allowed your own sacred space to be desecrated. You look upon the depleted garden and wonder why you feel so exhausted, so resentful, so empty. A boundary is the simple, loving act of building a fence around your garden. The fence is not there to imprison you. It is there to protect the sacred space within so that your flowers have a safe place to grow and blossom. The fence does not diminish the beauty of the garden. It is the very thing that makes its sustained beauty possible. To build this fence is one of the most loving things you can do, first for yourself, and then, as we shall see, for others as well. The foundation of any healthy boundary is an unwavering act of self-love. You cannot protect a garden you do not value. This is why the work of self-acceptance was so crucial. When you truly accept that you are worthy of peace, that your energy is a finite and precious resource, and that your well-being matters, setting a boundary is no longer a question of selfishness, but a question of sanity. Each time you say no to a request that feels contractive and draining, you are saying a thunderous yes to your own soul. You are declaring to yourself and to the universe that you are worthy of protection. Consider the alternative. When you consistently betray your own needs to please others, when you say yes when your body is screaming no, a toxic poison begins to build within your system. That poison is called resentment. Resentment is the bitter fruit of unenforced boundaries. It is the anger you feel toward others for taking what you so freely gave. It is a suffocating energy that leaks out sideways in passive aggression, in moodiness, in gossip, in sudden, disproportionate bursts of anger. A life without boundaries is not a life of peaceful generosity. It is a breeding ground for resentment, burnout, and the eventual collapse of your own spirit. Now we come to the great paradox that unlocks this entire practice. Setting clear boundaries is one of the greatest gifts you can give to other people. This may seem counterintuitive, but it is a profound truth. Firstly, your boundaries teach people how to treat you. When you are vague about your limits, you create confusion and anxiety in your relationships. People are constantly guessing, and often they will guess wrong, leading to the very conflict you were trying to avoid. When you are clear, calm, and consistent with your boundaries, you provide a safe and predictable relational container. People know where they stand with you. They may not always like your fence, but they know where it is. And that clarity allows for genuine respect to develop. Secondly, and more importantly, a boundary allows you to show up as your best, most loving self. When you give from a place of depletion, your giving is tainted with the energy of resentment. When you say yes with a heavy heart, the other person feels your reluctance on a subconscious level. But when you have protected your energy, when your garden is flourishing, you are able to give freely and joyfully from your overflow. The yes that comes from a person with healthy boundaries is a true, wholehearted, and powerful gift. A clear and loving no today makes a genuine, heartfelt yes possible tomorrow. You are offering others the gift of your authenticity rather than the poison of your resentment. So what does this fence look like? It has many forms. There are boundaries around your time, choosing not to overcommit to draining social events. There are boundaries around your energy, choosing to limit your exposure to people who consistently complain or create drama. There are crucial emotional boundaries, which is the understanding that you are not responsible for fixing another person's feelings. You can offer empathy, you can listen from your silent sanctuary, but you cannot carry their emotional burden for them. To do so is to disempower them and deplete yourself. And there are physical and verbal boundaries, being clear about what kind of language and touch is and is not acceptable to you. The boundary is not just a verbal statement, it is an energetic posture. It is the felt sense of being grounded and centered in your own space. As you cultivate vibrational integrity, this energetic fence becomes stronger. Your very presence begins to communicate self-respect, and you will find that people test your boundaries less and less, because your energy itself declares that your garden is not a public park. We must be honest, however. The act of setting the first fence post can be terrifying. For a person who has spent a lifetime people-pleasing, speaking a clear no can feel like an act of emotional violence. A tidal wave of guilt will almost certainly rush in. This guilt is the cry of your old conditioning. It is the voice of the frightened ego that believes your worth is dependent on your usefulness to others. Furthermore, you must be prepared for pushback. The people who have benefited most from your lack of boundaries will not celebrate your new fence. They may call you selfish. They may accuse you of changing. They may try to manipulate you back into your old fenceless ways. This is a critical moment. It is a test. Your task is to hold steady, to breathe through the guilt, to allow them to have their reaction without letting it change your resolve. The discomfort is a sign of growth. It is the feeling of a spiritual muscle being used for the first time. You must learn to tolerate the temporary disapproval of others in order to gain the permanent self-respect of your own soul. So, you build the fence. You weather the initial storm. You learn to live with the discomfort of the guilt until it fades. And then what? What happens inside this newly protected space? What happens is magic. Your energy, no longer leaking out in every direction, begins to accumulate. Your peace, no longer being constantly disturbed, deepens. The flowers in your garden, your joy, your creativity, your love begin to bloom with a vibrancy you had forgotten was possible. You become full. You are no longer running on empty. And from this place of fullness, you discover that you now have a gift to offer the world that is infinitely more valuable than your exhausted compliance. When you are no longer worried about your garden being trampled, you can stand peacefully at the gate and fully attend to the person who has come to visit. You are not distracted by anxiety or resentment. You are simply there. You can offer them the pure gold of your undivided attention. You can offer them the true currency of all meaningful connection. This currency is your presence. You have done the sacred work of building your fence. You have learned to protect your energy, to honor your needs, to stand firm in your truth. Within the protected walls of your garden, your life force, no longer being constantly drained and trampled, begins to accumulate. You find yourself in possession of a great and quiet wealth, an abundance of your own peace, a surplus of your own presence. The question now becomes, how do you share this newfound wealth with the world? We are taught that giving is an act of depletion. We give our time, our money, our advice, our labor. We often give until we are empty, and we call this generosity. But today, we will explore a different kind of giving. A giving that does not deplete, but energizes. A giving that is not a transaction, but a transmission. We will explore the art of offering the single most valuable and transformative gift any human being can give another. The pure, unadulterated currency of your presence. What is this presence? It is far more than simply being physically located in the same room with someone. It is the conscious focusing of your entire being onto another. Imagine your awareness is a powerful beam of light, like that from a lighthouse. For most of your life, this beam has been scattered. A part of it is shining on past regrets. Another part is aimed at future anxieties, and the rest is splintered among a dozen digital distractions and inner dialogues. The beam is weak and diffused. To be present is to gather all of those scattered rays and focus them into a single, coherent, and powerful beam of light, and to shine that light fully onto the person before you. To be in the presence of someone who is truly present with you is a rare and profound experience. It is a balm for the soul that feels perpetually overlooked in a world of distraction. To offer this presence is the ultimate expression of the love and integrity you have cultivated. It is the gold that you have mined from the depths of your own being, and it is a currency that can heal, validate, and transform. The foundation of presence is the practice of deep listening. This is an art form that has been almost entirely lost. We have forgotten how to listen. We engage in what could be called transactional listening. We listen only enough to formulate our reply. We hear their words, but we are simultaneously accessing our own memories, forming our own opinions, and waiting for a gap in their speech so we can insert our own story. This is not listening, this is reloading. Deep listening is a meditative act. It is the practice of entering your sanctuary of silence while another person is speaking. As they talk, you consciously quiet your own inner narrator. You let go of the need to have an answer. You release the impulse to relate their experience back to your own. You simply receive. You receive their words, but you also listen for what is behind the words. You listen to the tone of their voice. You observe the language of their body. You feel for the emotion that is driving their speech. You are not just listening to the story. You are listening to the soul that is telling the story. When you offer this quality of attention, the other person feels it on a profound, energetic level. They feel safe. They feel honored. And in that safety, they begin to unfold. They will say things to you that they have never said aloud before. The simple, focused act of your presence becomes a permission slip for their own truth to emerge. You become a silent, spacious container for their experience. This is one of the most healing gifts you can offer. From this ground of deep listening, the next layer of presence reveals itself. You begin to see beyond the mask. When you are fully present with someone, when your own ego is at rest, you are able to perceive them on a level beyond their personality. Your calm, grounded presence acts like a gentle solvent, and for a moment, their carefully constructed mask can become transparent. You see the flicker of vulnerability behind the bravado. You sense the old sadness beneath the cheerful facade. You recognize the longing for connection hidden within their cynical words. This is not an invasive act. It is an act of profound recognition. To be seen in this way, to have someone witness the tender truth behind your performance without judgment, is deeply validating. It is to be met, being to being, soul to soul. When you offer this gift of seeing, you remind the other person of their own depth, of the beautiful, authentic self that resides beneath the layers of their conditioning. You see the oak tree within them, even if they are still trying desperately to be a willow. All of this is made possible by the third pillar of presence, the release of agenda. True presence is utterly without agenda. You are not there to fix them. You are not there to impress them. You are not there to change their mind. You are not trying to get them to like you, to hire you, or to sleep with you. Your sole purpose in that moment is to be a clear, loving witness to their existence. Think of how rare this is. Nearly all of our interactions are tainted with a subtle agenda. We want something: approval, validation, agreement, control. The other person can always feel this subtle, energetic hook, and it forces them to keep their own mask firmly in place. When you approach someone with no agenda, when you truly want nothing from them, it is a radical act of freedom for both of you. It is in this agenda-free space that real intimacy and trust can be born. You are meeting them not as two egos trying to negotiate a transaction, but as two conscious beings sharing a moment in time. I want you to recall, if you can, a time when you felt truly and completely heard by another person. A time when you knew they weren't just waiting to speak, but were totally absorbed in your presence. Remember the feeling of that, the relief, the gratitude, the profound sense of being valued. Remember the feeling of your own shoulders dropping, of a tension you didn't know you were holding suddenly releasing. That feeling is the palpable effect of the currency of presence. That is the gift you now have the capacity to give, not from a place of depletion, but from a place of overflowing fullness. But the flow of this currency is not a one-way street. When you learn to become this clear, silent witness for another person, something extraordinary happens. In the light of your focused presence, the other person becomes a perfect mirror. As you listen without judgment, you will begin to notice your own inner reactions. The things they say that irritate you are not random. The qualities they possess that you deeply admire are not a coincidence. The emotions they express that trigger a disproportionately strong response in you are not about them. They are signals. They are arrows pointing directly to the unhe. Tu he tu zay 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 zay. The person who irritates you with their arrogance may be mirroring a disowned part of your own ambition, or a deep-seated fear of being invisible. The person you admire for their freedom may be mirroring your own soul's longing to break free from its self-imposed cage. The person whose sadness feels unbearable to you may be mirroring your own ungrieved sorrows. When you hold others in the clear, clean space of your presence, you are not just giving them a gift, you are giving yourself the gift of unparalleled self-awareness. Every interaction becomes an opportunity for discovery. Every relationship becomes a classroom. This leads us to a profound and transformative realization. We are all mirrors for one another, reflecting back the lessons our souls most need to learn. The world is not happening to you, it is happening for you. And every person you meet is a sacred reflection, a mirror of the other. You are now standing in your sacred garden, protected by the loving fence of your boundaries. From this place of fullness, you have learned to offer the world the pure gold of your presence. You have learned to hold a safe, silent space for others. It is in the clarity of this space that the next great mystery of human connection reveals itself. It begins with a fundamental shift in perception, a great reversal of how you see the world. We live our lives believing that our emotional reactions are caused by other people. We say, "He made me angry. She is so irritating. His speech was inspiring." We experience ourselves as the passive target of external events and personalities. The great reversal is the dawning of this radical truth. Your emotional reaction to another person is never, ever about them. It is always, without exception, about you. The other person is not the cause of your reaction. They are merely the trigger for something that is already living within you. Imagine you are walking through a vast and beautiful gallery, but this is no ordinary gallery. The walls are not hung with paintings. They are hung with mirrors of every shape and size. Every person you meet, every situation you encounter, every interaction you have is one of these mirrors. Some are clear and polished, some are cracked and distorted. Some are magnifying mirrors that enlarge every detail. Some are diminishing mirrors that make things seem small and distant. Your life is a walk through this hall of mirrors, and the purpose of the gallery is not for you to judge the quality of the mirrors, but to finally see your own face. The world is not a series of events happening to you. The world is a mirror showing you who you are. To understand this is to move from a position of victimhood to one of immense power and responsibility. Every person you meet becomes a teacher, and every interaction becomes a lesson in self-discovery. To learn from this gallery, we must first understand the different kinds of reflections we will encounter. There are three primary ways the mirror of the other works. The first, and the one that offers the most immediate potential for growth, is the mirror of irritation. These are the people who push your buttons. The qualities in them that provoke a strong negative reaction in you: annoyance, anger, frustration, disgust, are powerful arrows pointing directly toward the disowned, unhealed, and unconscious parts of your own psyche. This is your shadow self, and these irritating people are your greatest allies in bringing it to the light. This mirror of irritation works in several ways. Sometimes it is a direct reflection. The very trait that you cannot stand in another person is a trait that you yourself possess, but have repressed and judged as bad. You may, for example, find yourself enraged by people you perceive as arrogant and attention-seeking. The mirror is inviting you to ask, where have I repressed my own desire to be seen? Where have I denied my own ambition because I was taught it was unspiritual or unfeminine or unmasculine? The other person's arrogance is not the problem. The problem is that their behavior activates the caged and hungry part of you that also wants to be acknowledged, and you cannot stand the feeling. At other times, the mirror reflects not a disowned trait, but a disowned judgment. You might find yourself intensely irritated by a friend who is lazy or undisciplined. This irritation may not mean that you are secretly lazy. It may mean that you have a relentless inner critic, a brutal inner warden that punishes you for the slightest sign of rest or imperfection. You are not truly angry at your friend for watching television all day. You are projecting onto them the vicious self-judgment that you inflict upon yourself. You are outsourcing your own inner war. And sometimes the mirror reflects an old, unhealed wound. A person who is dismissive or unavailable may trigger a volcanic rage or a deep well of sadness within you. The intensity of your reaction seems disproportionate to the current event. The mirror is showing you that this is not about this person right now. Their behavior has simply pressed on a deep bruise from your past childhood wound of being ignored, a pain of abandonment that has never been properly felt and healed. You are not just reacting to this one person, you are reacting to everyone who has ever made you feel that way. The second type of mirror is the mirror of admiration. These are the people you look up to, the ones you idolize. When you feel a powerful pull of admiration for someone's courage, their creativity, their freedom, their compassion, you are also seeing a reflection of yourself. But this is not your shadow, it is your light. It is what has been called the golden shadow. These qualities that you so deeply admire in them are qualities that exist as dormant potential within you. Your admiration is the whisper of your own soul saying, "See? This is also you. This is what is waiting to be awakened and embodied." We are taught to place these people on pedestals, to turn them into gurus and heroes, which has the unfortunate effect of making us feel small and separate from them. The practice of the mirror is to reclaim these golden projections. Instead of thinking, "She is so wonderfully free," the practice is to feel that resonance of admiration and ask your soul, "Where am I being called to express my own freedom? What cage am I ready to unlock?" The person you admire is not your superior. They are simply a reminder of the magnificent potential that lies waiting within your own heart. The third type of mirror is the neutral mirror, the mirror of being. As you do this work of reclaiming your shadow and embodying your light, you will find that fewer and fewer people have the power to trigger you, either positively or negatively. You see their behavior. Perhaps it is angry, perhaps it is joyful, but it does not hook you. You can see it clearly for what it is, an expression of their inner state, not a statement about yours. This does not mean you become a doormat. You may still need to use your surgeon's scalpel to set a boundary with harmful behavior, but you do so from a place of calm, objective clarity, not from a place of unconscious emotional reaction. You see the mirror, you acknowledge that the reflection it shows is clear and untroubled, and you are free to respond with wisdom instead of wounding. This is peace. So, how do we practice this art of mirror gazing in our daily lives? It is a practice of mindful self-inquiry. The first step is simply to notice the charge. Whenever you feel a strong emotional charge, positive or negative, in response to another person, stop. Recognize this as a sacred signal. A mirror is being held up for you. This moment is not an interruption to your day. It is the curriculum of your soul's evolution, presenting itself to you. The second step is to consciously withdraw your projection. Our automatic habit is to focus all our energy and attention outward onto the other person, blaming them or idolizing them. The practice is to take a breath and intentionally pull your energy back into your own body. Turn the spotlight of your awareness away from them and shine it into your own inner world. The third step is to ask the inquiry questions. With a spirit of genuine curiosity, not self-judgment, you ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling in my body right now? Anger? Fear? Sadness? Joy? Where is it located? What is the specific behavior in them that is triggering this feeling? Now, the deep questions. Where in my own life do I exhibit a version of that same behavior? What belief do I hold that makes this behavior so wrong or so right? When have I felt this exact same way before? And if it is a feeling of admiration, you ask, what quality in this person is my soul inviting me to embody more fully? This inquiry is not about finding a way to blame yourself instead of them. It is about taking 100% responsibility for your own emotional state and using it as a doorway to liberation. The final and most radical step is to offer gratitude. In your heart, you silently thank the person who has irritated you. You thank them for being the perfect actor, bravely playing the role required to show you a part of yourself that was hidden in darkness. You thank them for bringing your wound to the surface so that it can finally be healed. This single act transforms the entire dynamic of your life. There are no more enemies, no more adversaries. There are only teachers. There are only mirrors. The person who challenges you the most becomes your greatest spiritual ally. As you commit to this practice, your perception of the world will fundamentally shift. You will no longer see a fragmented collection of separate people, some of whom you like and some of whom you don't. You will begin to see a unified field of consciousness, a grand and intricate dance of souls, all mirroring each other, all teaching each other, all helping each other to wake up. You realize that you are connected to the person who triggers you most in the most intimate way imaginable. They are showing you your own face. How can you sustain judgment in the face of this realization? How can you maintain hatred for your own reflection? You cannot. The entire foundation of blame and separation dissolves. And in the space created by that dissolution, something new is born. It is a feeling that arises not from sentimentality or pity, but from a profound, resonant understanding of your shared journey. It is the recognition that we are all just walking each other home. This realization is the seed of true, universal compassion. A compassion that is not an emotion, but a superpower. You have stood in the great hall of mirrors. You have looked deeply into the reflection of the other and have had the courage to see yourself. You have recognized your own shadow in their anger and your own potential in their light. From this profound recognition of shared humanity, a seed has been planted. It is a seed of understanding that, when nurtured, blossoms into the most potent force in the universe. It is the force of compassion. we must begin by liberating this word from its weak and sentimental connotations. The compassion we will speak of today is not pity. Pity is an act of the ego. It looks down from a place of perceived safety and says, "Oh, you poor thing." Pity creates separation. It reinforces a hierarchy of suffering. It is a subtle way of confirming our own superiority. True compassion is not a feeling of being sorry for someone. It is a powerful state of perception. It is the ability to look at any human being, regardless of how distorted their mask of personality has become, and to recognize the same spark of consciousness, the same frightened and beautiful soul that resides within you. It does not say, "Poor you." It says, with a deep and resonant knowing, "You too." This is not a weakness. It is a superpower. This power is born from the understanding you gained from the mirror. The person who is lashing out in anger is driven by the same fundamental fear of being powerless that you have felt. The person who is desperately seeking approval is moved by the same deep longing to be loved that lives in your own heart. The person who is boastful and arrogant is compensating for the same terrifying feeling of insufficiency that you have worked to heal within yourself. Their strategy for dealing with this inner pain may be unskilled, unconscious, or even destructive, but the source of the pain is universal. True compassion is the ability to look past the clumsy and often hurtful strategy and to recognize the shared, universal human heart beneath it all. To cultivate this superpower, I want to offer you a new metaphor, a new way of seeing people. When you encounter someone who is difficult, angry, or defensive, I want you to practice seeing them as a great tree in the midst of a hurricane that you cannot see. All you can perceive are the effects of the storm. You see the branches, their words, lashing out wildly. You see the trunk, their body, bent and contorted in a defensive posture. You see the leaves, their composure, being torn away. Your first instinct is to judge the tree. What an aggressive, chaotic, and dangerous tree. But the superpower of compassion allows you to look deeper. It allows you to sense that the tree's wild thrashing is not its true nature. It is a desperate reaction to the invisible, howling winds of its own inner world, the winds of its past trauma, its secret fears, its unhealed conditioning. When you see people in this way, as a tree in a storm you cannot see, it becomes almost impossible to take their behavior personally. How can you be angry at the thrashing branches when you understand the hurricane they are enduring? This perspective does not make you a target. On the contrary, it makes you impervious. Their storm can no longer touch your peace because you understand that it is not and was never about you. This leads to a crucial distinction that allows compassion to be fierce and wise, not weak and enabling. Compassion does not mean condoning harmful behavior. You are not required to stand under the lashing branches of the tree and allow yourself to be struck. The practice is to separate the eternal being from the temporary behavior. You can look at the person before you and say, within your own heart, "I see the magnificent soul within you. I recognize the light of consciousness that is your true nature. I have compassion for the invisible storm that is causing you such pain." And at the same time, you can use your surgeon's scalpel to say with calm and clear authority, "And I will not allow you to speak to me that way. That behavior is not acceptable in my presence." This is the divine paradox of fierce compassion. You can love the soul while setting a firm boundary with the personality. You can have unlimited compassion for their being while having zero tolerance for their behavior. This allows you to protect yourself without the toxic poison of hatred or resentment. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of blame and retaliation and allows you to act from a place of centered, loving power. This superpower is most needed and most challenging with the people our society deems difficult. The arrogant boss, the manipulative relative, the cruel stranger. Compassion invites you to understand that the more distorted the outer mask, the more immense the inner suffering must be. The person who needs to constantly dominate and control others is, in reality, terrified by their own profound sense of powerlessness. The person who is needlessly cruel is often drowning in a sea of their own unprocessed grief and self-hatred. Their behavior is a desperate, albeit destructive, attempt to find relief from their own inner torment. Again, this is never an excuse for their actions. It is an explanation that gives you freedom. When you understand this, you are no longer hooked by their drama. You are no longer a victim of their energy. Your compassion becomes a powerful, energetic shield that protects your own inner peace. You can navigate the world of difficult people without becoming one of them. Let us engage in a short practice to activate this superpower within you now. Close your eyes. Bring your awareness into the sanctuary of your own being. Now, gently bring to mind a person with whom you have a difficult relationship. Someone whose behavior often triggers you. First, see them as they are now, in your mind's eye. Notice the feelings that arise in your own body, the tension, the resistance. Just acknowledge it without judgment. Now, I want you to do something radical. I want you to imagine this person as a small child, perhaps 4 or 5 years old. See the innocence in their eyes. See their inherent desire to be loved, to be safe, to be happy. See that this small child still lives inside the adult you know. Now, from this perspective, imagine the invisible storm of their life. You do not need to know the details. Just imagine the winds of their family conditioning, the rains of their disappointments, the lightning strikes of their traumas. See them standing in that storm, doing the best they can with the tools they have. Feel, in your own heart, the truth that if you had lived their exact life, with their exact brain, with their exact experiences, you would be behaving in the exact same way. From this place of deeper understanding, see if you can offer them a silent blessing. It doesn't have to be complicated. Simply, may you be free from your suffering. May you find peace. You are not trying to change them. You are not condoning their behavior. You are simply using your own conscious energy to wish well for another soul. Notice what this does to the tension in your own body. It softens. It releases. In wishing them peace, you have brought more peace into yourself. This is the magic of compassion. As this state of compassionate understanding becomes your default way of seeing the world, a new question naturally arises. If I feel this compassion for everyone, if I see their inner storms, does that mean I am now responsible for saving them? Must I now become a fixer of people, a rescuer of souls? Here we find the final, liberating twist of this superpower. True, deep compassion leads to the exact opposite conclusion. It leads to a profound respect for the sacredness of each individual's journey. When you see the person as a soul learning its own lessons, you realize that your desire to rush in and fix their problems is often a form of egoic interference. You are trying to steal their curriculum. You are trying to prevent them from developing the strength that only comes from weathering their own storm. True compassion allows you to be a loving, stable, and powerful presence in the world, without being attached to the outcomes of others. You can offer your light. You can offer your wisdom, if it is asked for. You can hold the space for them to find their own way. But you release the need to control their path. You allow them the dignity of their own process. This is the ultimate freedom in all relationships. It is the liberation that comes from a deep and compassionate detachment from outcome. You have looked upon the other and seen a mirror of yourself. You have felt the wellspring of compassion that arises from this profound recognition. From this compassionate space, you can offer your presence, your truth, and your boundaries with love. But now we arrive at a subtle and powerful turning point, a spiritual practice that unlocks a new dimension of freedom. It is the practice of letting go. It is the art of detachment from outcome. Let us begin by excavating the root of nearly all human anxiety, frustration, and suffering. It is our attachment. We are creatures who are perpetually hooking our well-being to things that lie outside of our direct control. We perform a kind act, not purely for the beauty of kindness, but with an attachment to being seen as a kind person. We launch a creative project, not for the sheer joy of creation, but with a desperate attachment to it being successful and acclaimed. We speak our truth, not just to express it, but with a deep-seated attachment to the other person agreeing with us and validating our perspective. Each of these attachments is an energetic hook that we cast out from our present moment into an uncertain future. Our inner peace becomes conditional, held hostage by a future event, a specific result, another person's reaction. This is a fragile and exhausting way to live. We become like a ship that has thrown out a dozen anchors, not to the stable seabed below, but to a dozen other moving boats. We are pulled in every direction, at the mercy of currents that are not our own. Detachment is the conscious act of pulling those energetic hooks back into your own center. It is the reclaiming of your peace. Here we must make the most crucial distinction, for the ego will immediately misunderstand this concept. Detachment is not indifference. Indifference is a cold and disconnected state. It is a refusal to care, a wall of apathy built to protect a wounded heart. It is a form of fear. Detachment is the exact opposite. It is the highest form of love and trust. It is the courage to care deeply, to engage fully, to give your absolute best, while simultaneously and lovingly releasing all control over the result. It is a profound and fearless engagement with your input and a total surrender of your grip on the output. It is the dance between doing everything you can and then recognizing where your power ends and the power of the universe begins. To understand this, let us embrace the wisdom of the seed sower. Imagine you are a farmer standing at the edge of a vast field. This field is the world. It is your life, your sacred duty. Your only true domain of power is twofold: the quality of the seeds you carry and the integrity with which you sow them. You choose your seeds with conscious care, the seeds of truth from your scalpel, the seeds of compassion from your open heart, the seeds of courage from your soul's longing. You then walk the field and sow these seeds with presence, with intention, with love. This is your part of the divine bargain. This is where your work begins and ends. Once the seed is in the ground, it has left your hands. Its journey is now a collaboration with 1,000 forces you do not command. Its growth depends on the quality of the soil, which is the receptivity of the other person's heart. It depends on the rain and the sun, which are the unpredictable circumstances of life and the mysterious workings of divine timing. It depends on the presence of worms and microbes, the invisible network of grace that supports all life. The attached farmer stands anxiously at the edge of the field after sowing. They pace back and forth, consumed by worry. Will it sprout? Is it getting enough water? Why hasn't anything happened yet? Their happiness is postponed, their peace is forfeit, held entirely captive by a future result they cannot control. They are trying to will the seed to grow, and in doing so, they miss the beauty of the sunrise, the song of the birds, the feeling of the good earth beneath their feet. The detached farmer, the wise sower, understands the nature of things. They find their joy and fulfillment in the sacred act of sowing itself. They love the feeling of the seeds in their hand, the rhythm of their own walking, the integrity of their intention. They offer their best seeds to the field, and then they walk away in peace, trusting the great mystery. They know that not every seed will sprout. They know some will be eaten by birds. But they also know, with a deep and unshakable faith, that if they continue to show up every day and sow good seeds over the course of a season, a beautiful and abundant harvest is inevitable. Their peace is not in the harvest. Their peace is in the sowing. Let us bring this wisdom into the key arenas of our lives where attachment causes the most pain. First is our attachment to the opinions of others. This is the primary reason we wear the mask. We are desperately attached to being seen as good, smart, successful, attractive, spiritual. Our self-worth is outsourced, placed in the unstable hands of public opinion. The practice of detachment here is to anchor your sense of self in the bedrock of your own being. Your worth is not a performance to be judged. It is an intrinsic quality of your existence. It is not up for review. When you know this, you can offer your gifts to the world, your art, your work, your ideas, your love with a free and open hand. You sow the seed of your authentic expression, and you allow the world to have its reaction. If people offer praise, you can receive it with gratitude without letting it inflate your ego. If they offer criticism, you can listen for any kernel of truth without letting it shatter your soul. You are detached because you know their reaction is always a mirror of them, their tastes, their beliefs, their wounds, and not a final verdict on your worth. Second is our attachment to the actions of others. This is where compassion meets the fire of detachment. We love our children, our partners, our friends, and because we love them, we want to control them for their own good. We give advice and become angry when it is not taken. We offer support and become resentful when they don't make the choices we think they should. This is not love. It is a desire to be the manager of someone else's garden. Detachment is the ultimate act of respect. It is honoring the other person's sovereignty, their right to sow their own seeds and reap their own harvest. You must trust that their soul has its own curriculum, and the lessons they need to learn may only come from planting the wrong seeds and experiencing the result. You can be a loving presence, a lighthouse offering a steady light, but you cannot steer their ship. To release them to their own journey, to love them without needing them to be different, is one of the most difficult and most liberating acts of love. Third is our attachment to specific outcomes and timelines. The mind loves to create detailed plans. I will get this promotion by June. I will be married by 30. I will have this much money by the end of the year. We become fixated on a single, narrow vision of what our happiness should look like. But the universe has a far more creative and intelligent imagination than our limited ego. Its perspective is vaster. Detachment is the practice of setting a clear and heartfelt intention to sow the seed of your desire and then completely surrendering the how and the when to this higher intelligence. It is the profound trust that if this specific outcome, or something even better, is for your highest good, it will manifest in the perfect way and at the perfect time. This releases the tight, anxious, controlling energy that so often repels the very thing we desire. It is the shift from a mindset of frantic striving to one of graceful allowing. It is recognizing that you are not the sole creator, but a co-creator in a grand, intelligent dance. So how do we practice this active surrender? The first step is to focus on the process. Find your joy in the present moment action, not the future result. Fall in love with the physical act of writing, the feeling of the keys under your fingers. Fall in love with the challenge of solving the problem at work, the thrill of the mental puzzle. Fall in love with the act of being kind, the warmth it generates in your own chest. When your reward is the integrity and joy of the action itself, the outcome ceases to be the source of your happiness. It becomes a delightful bonus. The second step is to create small rituals of release. When you find yourself obsessing over a desired outcome or worrying about another person, visualize it. See the object of your attachment clearly in your mind. Now, place it gently into a beautiful bubble. See the bubble shimmer with all your hopes and fears. Then, take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, watch the bubble float up and away, releasing it into the care of the sky, into the hands of the universe. With that exhale, you silently say, I trust the process. I surrender this to a wisdom greater than my own. Do this as many times as you need to. It is an active training in letting go. As you master this practice of detachment, a new lightness will infuse your entire being. The rigidity of control gives way to the grace of fluidity. The tension of expectation is replaced by the open-heartedness of curiosity. You are no longer marching like a soldier toward a fixed point on the horizon, brittle and anxious. You have sown your seeds, and now your hands are free. You are free to respond to the melody of the present moment, to the changing winds, to the unexpected opportunities that your attachment would have blinded you to. This state of fluid, responsive, unburdened freedom is the energetic equivalent of a dance. You are no longer fighting with life. You are partnering it. You are engaged in a beautiful, flowing, and unpredictable dance of interaction with the cosmos itself. You have walked a long road inward. You have journeyed through the echo chamber of fear and rested in the sanctuary of silence. You have learned to read your inner compass, to accept yourself radically, and to speak your truth with the precision of a healer. You have stood in the great hall of mirrors and seen your own reflection in the other, allowing compassion to blossom in your heart. And you have learned to sow the seeds of your intention with love, and then to release your grip on the outcome, trusting the great mystery of life. This detachment has lifted a colossal weight from your shoulders. It has made you light. It has made you free. And a soul that is free does not march. A soul that is free dances. For most of our lives, we have treated our interactions with others as a kind of battle. We enter conversations armed with strategies. We defend our positions, we attack their arguments, we vie for control, we negotiate for victory. The social world is seen as a battlefield of competing egos, and we leave most encounters feeling either vaguely triumphant or vaguely defeated, and almost always drained. This is the old way, the way of the attached and frightened self. But from this new place of lightness and freedom, you are invited to a different paradigm. You are invited to lay down your weapons and take off your armor, not because you are surrendering, but because you no longer see a battle to be fought. You are invited to see every interaction not as a potential conflict, but as a potential collaboration. You are invited to step off the battlefield and onto the ballroom floor. From this moment forward, your life is not a struggle to be won, but a dance to be danced. To become a masterful dancer in this grand ballroom of life, you do not need to learn more clever steps or complicated choreography. You need only to cultivate a few simple yet profound qualities of being. The first quality of a great dancer is that they feel the music. An unskilled dancer is trapped in their own head, anxiously trying to remember the memorized sequence of steps. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. They are not present with the moment. They are trying to execute a plan. A masterful dancer, however, is listening. They are feeling the rhythm, the melody, the emotional tone of the song. The music of any interaction is its underlying energetic and emotional field. Before you speak, before you act, you must first learn to listen to this music. Is the energy of the room playful and light? Is the tone of your friend's voice slow and somber? Is there a dissonance between their cheerful words and the sadness in their eyes? To feel this music is to use your intuition, your inner compass. When you are attuned to the music of the moment, your response will be naturally graceful and appropriate. You will stop forcing a cheerful waltz during a mournful adagio. You will learn to move in harmony with what is, rather than what you think should be. The second quality is the fluid ability to know when to lead and when to follow. A dance is a dynamic partnership, a constant give and take. It is not a monologue. There will be moments when your clarity and integrity demand that you lead. This is when you speak your truth, when you set a clear boundary, when you make a firm decision that guides the interaction. You are the one initiating the turn, setting the direction. This is the assertive, focused, yang energy of the dance. But there are just as many moments when wisdom lies in following. To follow is to yield, to listen deeply, to be receptive and responsive to the other's lead. It is to allow them the space to express their truth, to adapt to their rhythm, to support their movement. This is not weakness. It is the flexible, spacious, yin energy of the dance. A truly graceful being is not rigidly attached to either role. They can lead with strength and follow with grace, and they intuitively sense which is required by the music of the moment. The third quality, which arises from this balance, is the combination of a strong frame and a light touch. In any partner dance, the leader must provide a frame, a stable, reliable structure with their body that the follower can trust. The follower can surrender to the lead because they feel the leader's solid, grounded presence. They know they will be supported and not be dropped. This strong frame is the embodiment of your healthy boundaries, your self-respect, your vibrational integrity. It is your solid connection to your own center. Others feel safe with you because they sense, on an energetic level, that you are grounded in your own truth. You are reliable. Yet, at the same time, the points of physical contact in the dance are light. There is no desperate grabbing, no forceful pushing, no crushing grip. The guidance is a gentle pressure, an invitation, not a command. This is the lightness of your touch. It is your compassion, your non-attachment, your willingness to allow rather than to force. This combination of a strong, unshakable core and a gentle, compassionate interaction with the world is the very definition of grace. You are both a mountain and a breeze. You are unshakable in your own space, and yet you touch the world with a beautiful lightness. Finally, a masterful dancer knows how to enjoy the missteps. No dance is perfect. You will occasionally say the wrong thing. You will have awkward silences. You will misread the music and step on someone's toes. The ego sees these moments as failures. It gets flustered. It floods with shame. It apologizes profusely, and this anxiety ruins the flow of the dance. The master, however, meets a misstep with a different energy. They meet it with a smile, with a light heart, with a sense of humor. They recover effortlessly and weave the mistake back into the dance, transforming it from an error into an improvisation. When you can laugh at your own social awkwardness, when you can forgive yourself instantly for not being perfectly smooth, you give a tremendous gift to everyone around you. Your lightness gives them permission to be imperfect, too. You create a space where humanity is welcome and perfection is not required. As you cultivate these qualities, you will find a new joy and playfulness infusing your life. You are no longer bracing for impact. You are anticipating the music. But it is also vital to remember that while you will dance with many partners, your primary dance is with life itself. There will be times you find yourself on the dance floor alone. The old self would have seen this as a tragedy, a sign of rejection. But the new you understands that this is not a failure, but another beautiful form of the dance. To be able to dance with joy, with presence, with passion, all by yourself, is the ultimate expression of your own sovereignty and wholeness. It is the sign of a being who does not need a partner to feel complete, but who chooses to dance with others out of a sense of joy and connection, not neediness. When you begin to move through the world in this way as a graceful, present, and joyful dancer, sometimes with a partner, sometimes blissfully alone, you begin to change the very atmosphere around you. You do not try to do this. You do not enter a room with the agenda of raising the vibration. You simply are who you are, and your being becomes an influence. The harmony and grace that you embody do not end at the edges of your skin. They leave a wake. They create a subtle energetic signature in every room you enter, in every interaction you have. This resonance, this energy that you leave behind, ripples outwards, touching people and situations in ways you may never consciously know. This is the subtle, inevitable, and powerfully transformative ripple effect of your authenticity. You have learned to move through the world not as a soldier on a battlefield, but as a dancer in a grand ballroom. You have learned to feel the music of the moment, to lead with strength, to follow with grace, and to meet the inevitable missteps with a light and forgiving heart. As you embody this new way of being, you begin to notice something remarkable. Your presence itself begins to have an effect on the world around you. You are not trying to change anyone. You are not trying to fix anything. And yet, things around you begin to change. This is the subtle, powerful, and inevitable ripple effect of authenticity. We are taught that to have an impact on the world, we must do grand things. We must build great organizations, lead loud movements, write revolutionary books. We believe our influence is measured by the scale of our actions. But this is a misunderstanding of the nature of power. The most profound influence you will ever have on the world does not come from what you do, but from who you are. Imagine your life as a single, smooth stone. And imagine the world, the collective consciousness of humanity, as a vast, still lake. For most of your life, you may have been trying to make big waves, thrashing about on the surface, trying to be noticed. But the work you have been doing, the inner work of healing, of finding your center, of embracing your truth has polished this stone of your being until it is perfectly smooth and dense with presence. Now, the simple act of you being you, in your quiet, authentic integrity, is like dropping that polished stone into the center of the still lake. There is a small, quiet splash, and then ripples begin to form. They spread out from you in every direction, silent, concentric circles of influence. They travel far beyond your sight, to shores you will never visit, touching everything in their path. You may never see the final destination of your ripples, but you can trust with absolute certainty that they are transforming the entire body of water. This is your true impact. This is your real work. Let us explore the nature of these ripples. The first and most immediate is the ripple of permission. When you enter a room grounded in your authentic self-calm, present and free from the need to perform, you create an invisible field of safety around you. Your regulated nervous system silently communicates to the nervous systems of others that there is no threat. In a tense meeting, your quiet presence can lower the collective anxiety. At a family gathering, your non-judgmental attention can diffuse a potential argument. You become the energetic tuning fork in the room. Without saying a word, you offer a different frequency, a frequency of peace. And those around you, hungry for that peace, will begin to unconsciously attune to you. More than that, your authenticity gives others permission to be authentic. When they see that you are not wearing a mask, it gives them the courage to loosen their own. When they feel that you are not judging them, they are able to relax their own harsh self-judgment. You do not tell them to be themselves. You simply are yourself, and in doing so, you show them that it is possible. You become a living invitation for others to step out from behind their own defenses and meet you in a space of genuine connection. The second is the ripple of clarity. A person living in a state of vibrational integrity is like a clear crystal. When the murky, dissonant energies of others encounter this clarity, they cannot penetrate it. Instead, they are reflected. People who operate from a place of manipulation, hidden agendas, or deep-seated inauthenticity often find themselves deeply uncomfortable around you. Your presence becomes a mirror in which they are forced to see their own dissonance. You are not trying to expose them. You are not judging them. You are simply being so clear, so true to your own core, that their own lack of clarity becomes undeniable to them. This creates a natural and effortless filtering process in your life. Those who are also committed to truth, growth, and authenticity will be drawn to your clarity like moths to a flame. They will feel at home in your presence. Those who thrive on drama, deception, and energetic chaos will find your peaceful clarity unsettling, and they will naturally drift away. You do not need to push anyone out of your life. Your authentic vibration does the work for you, gently curating your relationships so that you are surrounded by those who can meet you in a place of truth. The third is the ripple of inspired action, often called the butterfly effect. You may never know the true impact of a single small act of authentic presence. The genuine smile you offer the tired cashier, the 5 minutes of deep, uninterrupted listening you give to a distressed friend, the moment of compassion you extend to a stranger. These are not small things. They are potent seeds. That cashier, whose spirit was lifted by your kindness, may go home and have more patience with her child. That friend, who felt truly heard by you, may find the clarity to make a difficult but necessary decision in their own life. Your one act of authentic presence can initiate a chain reaction of positive energy that will ripple through countless lives. You are the butterfly flapping its wings in one part of the world, causing a beautiful and unforeseen weather pattern in another. You cannot trace the connection logically, but you can trust, on a soul level, that your commitment to being a force for peace in your own small corner of the world is having a global impact. Finally, there is the most expansive ripple of all, the ripple of cosmic resonance. The collective consciousness of humanity is not an abstract idea. It is a real, living, energetic field, composed of the sum total of every thought, feeling, and belief of every human being on the planet. For eons, this field has been dominated by the dense frequencies of fear, scarcity, separation, and conflict. Every single time you choose to respond with compassion instead of judgment, every time you choose to feel your fear without acting on it, every time you choose to rest in presence instead of being lost in distraction, you are doing more than just healing your own life. You are casting a vote. You are contributing your clear, coherent frequency to this collective field. You are a single point of light, and by consciously tending to your own flame, you increase the total luminosity of the world. Your inner work is a selfless act of service to the whole. By healing yourself, you are offering a blueprint of healing to all of humanity. In light of this, you must release the ego's desire to have a grand and visible role to play. You must let go of the need to be recognized as a savior or a healer. The nature of the ripple is that its source often remains anonymous. The beauty of the dance is in the movement itself, not in the applause. Your work is to trust the process. Your work is to focus on the integrity of your own being, knowing that a single, authentic soul vibrating with peace and love is a more powerful force for change than 1,000 armies marching with fear and hatred. To be this source of light, to be this clear stone creating such beautiful and far-reaching ripples, is your highest calling. It is the purpose for which you have undertaken this entire journey inward. But this quiet power comes with a sacred responsibility. A lighthouse cannot guide ships through the storm if its own lamp is allowed to go out. A stone covered in the mud of exhaustion and depletion cannot create clear ripples. This profound influence you now wield requires that you protect your own energy with fierce devotion. It demands that you learn the crucial and often neglected art of consciously and lovingly replenishing your own well. You are a beacon. You have come to understand that your authentic presence, your quiet integrity, is a force that sends healing ripples out into the world. You have accepted this high calling, this sacred and subtle service to the whole. But in accepting this role, you must also accept the profound responsibility that comes with it. A lighthouse whose lamp is sputtering and dim is a danger, not a guide. A well that has run dry can quench no one's thirst. The most common and tragic mistake made by caring, compassionate souls is to believe that their purpose is to give until there is nothing left. This is the fallacy of the empty vessel, a path that leads not to enlightenment, but to burnout, resentment, and a dimming of the very light you came here to share. Today, we must learn the most practical and perhaps the most resisted of all spiritual disciplines, the art of replenishing your well. This is not an indulgence. It is not a selfish luxury. It is a sacred duty. It is the non-negotiable prerequisite for sustainably shining your light in the world. Imagine your soul, your life force, as a deep well within you. From this well, you draw the living water of your presence, your compassion, your creativity, your love, and you offer it to the parched world around you. But a well is not an infinite source. It is part of a dynamic system. If you only ever draw water out, if you only ever give, the water level will inevitably drop. The water will become murky with sediment. Eventually, the bucket will come up empty. A dry well serves no one. The primary responsibility of the well keeper is not to give away the water, but to ensure that the well remains full, clear, and vibrant. Before we can learn how to fill the well, we must first become ruthlessly honest about where the leaks are. We must become conscious of the ways in which our precious life force is being drained, often without our consent or awareness. Let us first examine the external drains. There are people in our lives who, often unconsciously, act as energy vampires. They are the chronic complainers who use you as a dumping ground for their negativity. They are the drama creators who thrive on chaos and seek to pull you into their storms. They are the narcissists who see you only as a source of admiration and energy to be consumed. To spend time with these people is to feel your well-being drained by a siphon. There are also draining environments, a noisy, chaotic office, a crowded shopping mall, an environment filled with tension and unspoken conflict. These places can tax our sensitive nervous systems and deplete our reserves. And in our modern age, we must be especially vigilant about our digital environments. The endless scroll of social media, with its culture of comparison and outrage, and the 24-hour news cycle designed to keep us in a state of anxiety and fear, these are massive, industrial-scale drains on the collective well of humanity. Finally, there are the draining obligations, the commitments, the shoulds, the tasks you say yes to with your mouth while your soul is screaming no. Each one is a small crack in the wall of your well. Then there are the internal drains, which are often even more insidious. The single greatest internal drain is the voice of the inner critic. That constant, looping narrative of self-judgment, of not good enough, of replaying past mistakes, is like a pump running 24/7, pumping your own precious water out onto the dry ground of self-recrimination. Worry and anxiety are another major leak. Each time you project your consciousness into an imagined negative future, you are sending your life force away from the present moment where it belongs, wasting it on phantoms. And there is the weight of unprocessed emotions. To carry around old grief, old anger, old resentments is like having heavy, stagnant sludge at the bottom of your well, contaminating all the fresh water that tries to enter. To look at this list is not to become paranoid or fearful, but to become a conscious steward of your own energy. It is to become a wise well keeper who regularly inspects the walls of their well for leaks and lovingly patches them up. This is the first step. Stop the draining. The second step is the joyful practice of replenishment. Let us now explore the 4 sacred fountains from which you can draw fresh, clear, life-giving energy to fill your well to overflowing. The first and most important is the fountain of stillness. This is the primary source. This is the gentle, steady rain that falls directly into your well. The primary way to access this fountain is through the practice of solitude and silence. We must reclaim solitude from its association with loneliness. Loneliness is the pain of feeling disconnected from others. Solitude is the joy of consciously connecting with yourself. It is a deliberate choice to unplug from the endless demands and opinions of the world and to plug into the deep, quiet source of your own being. This can take the form of formal meditation, of simply sitting in a quiet room and watching your breath, or of taking a walk without your phone. The goal is to create moments of true sensory silence, where there is no input, no podcasts, no music, no books, no conversation. In this stillness, your frantic nervous system can finally downshift. Your scattered energy field can cohere. This is not empty time. It is the most productive and healing time imaginable. It is when the well refills. The second is the fountain of nature. The earth itself is a vast battery of stable, grounding, life-giving energy. We, in our insulated homes and rubber-soled shoes, have become disconnected from this powerful source. To replenish your well from the fountain of nature is to consciously reconnect with the living world. This can be as simple as taking off your shoes and walking barefoot on grass or sand, a practice known as earthing. It is a literal act of allowing the chaotic, built-up electrical charge in your body to discharge into the earth and to absorb the planet's calm, healing frequency. It can be the practice of forest bathing, simply walking slowly and silently among trees, breathing in the air that is rich with the compounds they release. It can be watching the rhythmic crash and retreat of ocean waves, which can mesmerize the mind into a meditative state. It can be watching a sunset, an act that inspires a sense of awe and wonder, instantly pulling you out of your small, egoic concerns and connecting you to the vastness of the cosmos. Nature does not demand anything from you. It simply offers its boundless, healing presence. Allow yourself to receive it. The third is the fountain of beauty and inspiration. The soul, like the body, needs to be fed, and its preferred food is beauty. In a world that so often feels harsh, cynical, and ugly, it is a radical act of self-care to consciously seek out and immerse yourself in beauty. This is about mindful consumption. It means curating your input. It means choosing to listen to a piece of music that makes your heart soar, rather than one that agitates you. It means reading a poem that speaks to the deepest part of you. It means looking at a piece of art that reminds you of the transcendent. It means watching a film that inspires you and affirms your faith in humanity. Anything that creates a feeling of awe, wonder, or a deep emotional resonance is a pure mountain spring feeding your well. It reminds you of what is possible, of the higher octaves of human experience, and it fills you with the creative energy needed to bring more of that beauty into the world yourself. The fourth is the fountain of embodied joy. The ego is relentlessly serious. It is obsessed with problems, with productivity, with survival. But the soul, your true nature, loves to play. Play is not frivolous. It is a high vibrational state that instantly replenishes your energy. We have forgotten how to play as adults. To replenish from this fountain means consciously reintroducing non-purposeful joy into your life. It means putting on your favorite music and dancing with wild abandon in your living room for 10 minutes. It means engaging in a hobby, not because it could become a side hustle, but for the sheer love of the activity itself. It means laughing, truly and deeply, with a friend. It means getting down on the floor and playing with a pet or a child, allowing their natural joy to infect you. It also includes gentle, intuitive movement that gets you out of the prison of your mind and into the wisdom of your body. Practices like gentle yoga, tai chi, or simply stretching in a way that feels good are powerful ways to stir the waters of your well, keeping them from becoming stagnant and bringing fresh vitality to your entire being. To commit to these practices of replenishment requires a profound shift in mindset. It requires you to embrace what we can call sacred selfishness. It is the deep understanding that taking an hour for yourself to sit in silence or walk in the woods is not taking an hour away from your service to the world. It is your service to the world. It is the act of polishing the lamp so your light can shine more brightly. It is the act of filling your cup so that it may naturally overflow to others. A burnt-out, resentful, and depleted you is of no use to anyone. A vibrant, joyful, and replenished you becomes a natural fountain of healing and inspiration for all who come into contact with you. You must give yourself permission to unapologetically prioritize your own replenishment, seeing it not as a reward, but as the very center of your spiritual practice. As you master this sacred rhythm of expenditure and replenishment, you move beyond the paradigm of scarcity and survival. Your well becomes so consistently full that it is no longer just a well, it begins to overflow. You realize that you are not just a passive container that needs to be refilled from external sources. You begin to sense that the well itself, your own consciousness, is directly connected to the infinite underground river of life itself. You are not just a vessel, you are the fountain. This realization transforms your relationship with reality. You are no longer just reacting to the world, giving away your energy, and then retreating to heal. From this place of overflowing fullness, you begin to consciously and actively create your reality. You are no longer just a dancer in the ballroom, you become the musician as well. You are no longer just a stone dropped in the lake, you are the hand that drops it. You awaken to your true nature as the creator, not the reactor. You have journeyed deep into the architecture of your own being. You have faced the shadows in the hall of mirrors. You have learned the language of your soul's compass. and you have discovered the sacred fountains that replenish your spirit. You have come to understand that your authentic presence creates ripples that change the world around you. Now, it is time to take the final, decisive step in your transformation. It is time to consciously claim your power. It is time to make the great pivot from a reactive to a creative stance. For most of our lives, we operate under a profound illusion. We believe that our inner state is the result of our outer world. We think, I am happy because I received good news. I am angry because of what that person said. I feel at peace because I am on vacation. In this model, we are reactors. We are leaves, tossed about by the unpredictable winds of circumstance, other people's moods, and shifting fortunes. Our peace and happiness are perpetually at the mercy of forces outside ourselves. We spend our lives trying to control the wind, an exhausting and ultimately futile endeavor. The great pivot is the realization that this entire model is upside down. The creative stance understands a deeper truth. Our outer world is a reflection of our inner state. Your consciousness is not a passive mirror reflecting the world. It is an active projector casting the world. The formula is not, event causes feeling. The formula is, your chosen feeling, your state of being, shapes your experience of the event. The reactor says, the world is happening to me. The creator declares, the world is happening through me and for me. And so, all the tools you have gathered on this journey, your ability to find silence, to observe your thoughts, to feel your emotions without being consumed by them, to cultivate compassion, to practice detachment. These were not just tools for healing. They were your training. They were the exercises that strengthened your creative muscles. You have been learning how to become the wind itself. To operate from this creative stance is to take absolute responsibility for the quality of your own consciousness. Your consciousness is the sacred studio, the inner workshop where your reality is forged. The dominant thoughts, feelings, and beliefs you hold in this studio are the energetic blueprints you are handing to the universe every single moment. The Creator understands this, and so they become a master of their inner atmosphere. They no longer allow the dust of worry or the clutter of resentment to accumulate. They use their tools of presence and meditation to keep the studio clean, clear, and filled with light. They know that a beautiful creation cannot emerge from a chaotic workshop. If your consciousness is the studio, then your focused intention is the sculptor's hand. An intention, when spoken from the creative stance, is not a desperate wish or a hopeful plea. A wish comes from a place of lack, vibrating at the frequency of, I don't have this. An intention comes from a place of power, vibrating at the frequency of, this is what I now choose to create. It is a clear and focused directive of your life force. When you were operating from a depleted well, your intentions were weak and needy. But now, from your place of replenished fullness, your intentions have power. They are declarations of a sovereign being, spoken into the fertile field of infinite possibility. Now we come to the most advanced and potent technology of creation. It is a subtle shift that changes everything. It is the practice of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The reactive mind tries to get something in order to feel a certain way. If I get the promotion, then I will feel worthy and secure. The creative mind flips the sequence. It dares to feel worthy and secure first, thereby becoming a magnet for experiences that match that feeling. This is the ultimate creative act. You do not try to get respect from others. You assume the inner state of self-respect so profoundly that others naturally reflect it back to you. You do not try to find a peaceful environment. You cultivate such a deep state of inner peace that you carry your sanctuary with you wherever you go. You are not trying to manifest a thing. You are embodying a state of being. Let us make this practical. The reactor enters a difficult meeting, hoping it will go well, feeling anxious, and reacting to the energy in the room. The creator, before entering that same meeting, takes a moment. They close their eyes. They do not hope. They create. they consciously invoke the feeling of clarity. They feel the sensation of a successful outcome in their body right now. They embody the feeling of connection and mutual understanding. They then walk into the room, not as a victim of its atmosphere, but as the creator of a new one. They are not a thermometer, reflecting the temperature of the room. They are the thermostat, setting it. The reactor has a difficult conversation and worries endlessly about how the other person will react. The creator, before the conversation, assumes the state of compassionate understanding. They hold this feeling, this vibration, in their energy field throughout the interaction. They know they cannot control the other person's reaction, but they can take absolute ownership of the energy they bring to the encounter. This changes your entire life, from a series of events you must endure into a work of art you are actively painting. Every day is a blank canvas. Every conversation, every project, every challenge is an opportunity to ask not, what is going to happen to me, but rather, what state of being do I choose to create right now? You are no longer being written by life. You are the author. However, this immense power must be wielded with immense wisdom. The novice creator, still entangled with the ego, sees this power as a tool to control others, to amass possessions, to build monuments to their own importance. This is a profound misunderstanding. To use this power to serve the ego's endless, hungry desires is to remain trapped in the cycle of wanting and getting, which is a prison of its own. The true purpose of becoming a conscious creator is not to get more things from the outside world, but to become so masterful at creating your inner world that you need less and less from the outside. The ultimate goal of creation is to create a state of being that is so whole, so peaceful, and so joyful that it is self-sustaining. Your happiness is no longer dependent on outcomes. Your peace is no longer conditional on circumstances. Your well is so full that it is connected directly to the infinite source. And it is from this state of profound inner fullness, this state of needing nothing from anyone, that a new and beautiful paradox emerges. From this place of non-seeking, you become magnetic. By not needing to impress anyone, your natural presence becomes deeply impressive. By not trying to persuade anyone, your authentic words become deeply persuasive. By not seeking to control, you gain a quiet and powerful influence. You have solved the puzzle of your own being, and in doing so, you become a silent, effortless leader for others. You are no longer striving for power. You have become an embodiment of it. This is the grace and the paradox of effortless influence. You have stood in your full power as the conscious creator of your reality. You have learned to cultivate your inner state with such devotion that you no longer need the outside world to validate you, to soothe you, or to make you happy. You have become a self-sustaining source. From this place of profound inner fullness, a new relationship with the world is born. It is a relationship built not on striving, but on stillness, not on force, but on flow. It is the discovery of the ultimate paradox of power, the art of effortless influence. The world has taught you a model of influence that is based on effort. It is the push model. You must have the most persuasive arguments. You must build the most clever strategies. You must employ a forceful charisma. You must work harder, speak louder, and push your agenda with more conviction than anyone else. This model is born from the assumption of the belief that you must get something from the other person, be it their agreement, their compliance, or their admiration. It is the energy of a salesman trying to close a deal. It is exhausting, it creates resistance, and it is ultimately a low-frequency form of power. Today, we leave that model behind. We embrace a new paradigm. This is the pull model of influence. It does not come from anything you do. It comes entirely from who you have become. It is the natural, magnetic consequence of a human being who has achieved such a high degree of inner coherence and self-sufficiency that their very presence begins to harmonize the field around them. It is the influence of a star, not a salesman. To understand this, let us use a simple metaphor. The world is filled with people trying to be heat lamps. They use artificial energy force, persuasion, manipulation to try and beam warmth onto those around them, hoping to influence them. This is tiring and inefficient. The path of effortless influence is to stop being a heat lamp and to become the sun. The sun does not try to warm the planets. The sun does not have an agenda to make the flowers grow. The sun simply shines. It radiates its own nature, its own fiery, brilliant essence, out into the cosmos without condition and without expecting anything in return. And yet, by this simple, constant act of being itself, the entire solar system is held in a state of harmonious order. The planets, of their own accord, turn their faces toward its light. The seeds, in their own time, break through the soil to reach for its warmth. The sun's influence is a byproduct of its own radiance. This is your new model. Your only work is to shine. So what are the qualities of a person who has become like the sun? First is radiant self-sufficiency. The sun's immense energy is not drawn from an external source. It is generated at its own core through the perpetual fiery process of nuclear fusion. In the same way, the person of effortless influence generates their own inner supply of worth, validation, and happiness. This is the culmination of all your inner work. Because you have replenished your own well, you no longer approach others with the energy of a beggar, hoping for a few drops of their approval. Because you are the creator of your own inner state, you do not need them to make you feel peaceful or joyful. You bring your own peace, your own joy, to every encounter. This energetic self-sufficiency is profoundly magnetic. People can feel, on a subconscious level, that you don't want anything from them. This lack of neediness is the rarest and most beautiful gift you can offer. It makes you completely non-threatening. In your presence, people can finally relax. They can put down their own defenses because they sense there is no battle to be fought. They are drawn into your orbit not because you are pulling on them, but because your self-sustaining warmth feels good. It feels safe. It feels like home. Second is unconditional shining. The sun does not decide who is worthy of its light. It shines upon the beautiful garden and the garbage dump with equal and impartial generosity. It does not withhold its warmth from those it dislikes. A person of effortless influence embodies this same impartiality. Their state of being is not a conditional reward they offer to those they want to impress. Their kindness, their presence, their compassion are offered freely because this is their nature. They are just as present with the janitor as they are with the CEO. This is not a calculated strategy of being nice to everyone. It is the natural expression of a heart that has looked in the mirror of the other and has recognized the same spark of consciousness in all beings. This profound lack of hierarchy in your interactions is deeply felt. It communicates a fundamental respect for all life. This unconditional radiance is what builds deep, unshakable trust and authentic respect. Third is the creation of a gravitational center. The sun's immense mass and density create a powerful gravitational field. It is this field that holds the planets in their graceful, predictable orbits. The sun does not chase after the planets, shouting instructions at them. It simply is the center, and by its very nature, it creates order out of chaos. A person who has done the deep work of integrating their being develops a kind of spiritual gravity. Their stability, their clarity, their integrity, their unwavering connection to their own truth, these qualities create a powerful, silent, organizing principle in their environment. In a chaotic family, in an anxious workplace, such a person can become the quiet, gravitational center. They do not do this by issuing commands or by trying to manage everyone. They do it simply by being the unwavering point of peace and sanity. Others, tired of the chaos, will find themselves unconsciously orienting toward this field of stability. They begin to find their own more harmonious orbit around this center of calm. You bring order not by controlling, but by being the center. The final step in this journey is the most subtle. To truly embody effortless influence, you must completely let go of the desire to be an influencer. The modern obsession with followers, with platforms, with being seen as a leader is a trap of the ego. It is a return to the heat lamp mentality, a need to be validated by the number of people who are gathered around you. The ultimate paradox is this: the moment you genuinely do not care if you are influencing anyone is the moment you become most influential. Your power reaches its zenith when you become so absorbed in the simple, joyful, moment-to-moment act of shining, so committed to tending to your own inner fire, that you forget to check if anyone is even watching. Your detachment from the outcome makes your signal pure. Your energy is clean. People are not drawn to a person who is trying to lead them. They are drawn to a person who is so beautifully and authentically leading their own life. They are inspired not by your words, but by your example. You are no longer pushing, pulling, persuading, or proving. You are simply being. You are radiating. You are shining. And you are trusting that the light you generate is all the influence the universe requires of you. This state of being, where your inner world is so full and coherent that it naturally and effortlessly brings light, warmth, and order to your outer world, is not a final destination you must struggle to reach. It is a state of being to be inhabited, moment by moment. When you learn to live consistently from this place of effortless radiance, you begin to move through life with a particular quality, a certain flavor. There is an ease, a flow, a sense of rightness. Things seem to work out. You feel guided and supported. This is the palpable, lived experience of living in grace. You have walked the path of the Creator. You have learned to wield your intention, to assume the feeling of your deepest truth, and to radiate your being into the world like the sun. From this profound state of inner fullness and non-seeking, you begin to move with a new quality. Your actions, your words, and your very presence become infused with a certain ease, a quiet harmony, a sense of being perfectly in step with the rhythm of life. This is not an achievement to be won, but a natural state to be inhabited. This is the experience of living in grace. Let us first rescue this beautiful word from its stiff and formal prison. Grace is not about being polite, proper, or religiously pious. It is not about living a perfect, problem-free life. Grace, in its truest spiritual sense, is a quality of movement. It is the signature of a soul that has ceased to fight with reality. It is the ability to navigate the currents of life, the joys and the sorrows, the triumphs and the challenges with a sense of fluid ease, deep trust, and minimal internal resistance. It is the external manifestation of your inner alignment. To understand grace, let us return to the image of water. The ego, with its need for control and predictability, seeks to be a canal. It wants life to flow in a straight line between high concrete walls, forcing its way through the landscape according to a pre-drawn map. It is rigid, it is brittle, and when it meets an obstacle it cannot demolish, it stagnates. A life lived in grace is like a river. The river does not fight the landscape, it partners with it. It follows the path of least resistance, not out of weakness, but out of profound wisdom. When it meets a small stone, it flows over it. When it meets a great boulder, it does not waste its energy trying to smash it. It flows around it. When it reaches a cliff, it surrenders to gravity and becomes a magnificent waterfall. In all of its twists and turns, it never loses its essential nature. It is always, unapologetically, water. Its power is not in its force, but in its yielding persistence. Its destiny is to merge with the great ocean. You are the river. Grace is the quality of your flow. So, what does it feel like to live as the river? What are the felt senses of a life infused with grace? The first and most palpable sense is a feeling of timelessness. The anxious mind lives in a state of perpetual time sickness. It is either chained to the regrets of the past or frantically trying to control the outcomes of the future. A life of grace is lived primarily in the vast, spacious reality of the present moment. The practice of returning to the sanctuary of silence has rewired your brain. The now is no longer a brief bridge between past and future. It is your home. You will find yourself entering flow states more frequently, becoming so absorbed in the task at hand, be it writing a report, washing the dishes, or listening to a child, that the clock and your inner narrator simply disappear. The constant pressure of what's next dissolves, because the promise of happiness is no longer located in a future destination. It is discovered right here, in the rich, sacred texture of this very moment. From this timelessness arises the second sense, a feeling of effortlessness. This does not mean you cease to act. On the contrary, your actions become more potent and effective. But they are no longer fueled by the frantic, grinding energy of force. You have stopped trying to push the river. Instead, you have learned to place your boat in the center of the current and allow the flow of life to carry you. This is when synchronicity becomes a common occurrence rather than a rare anomaly. The person you were just thinking about calls. The book containing the exact answer you need falls off a shelf. The perfect opportunity appears, seemingly out of nowhere. This is not magic, it is physics. You have aligned your own vibration with the harmonious flow of the universe. And the universe, which abhors a vacuum, rushes to support a being who is in alignment with its own laws. This does not mean challenges vanish. The river still encounters boulders, but your relationship with them is transformed. An obstacle is no longer seen as a personal failure or a cruel cosmic joke. It is simply a feature of the landscape, a navigational marker. You learn to trust that the boulder is there for a reason, perhaps to guide you toward a more scenic route, perhaps to slow you down when you are moving too fast, perhaps to teach you the art of flowing around what you cannot change. Your energy is no longer wasted in futile resistance. It is conserved for graceful navigation. The third sense, which becomes the very ground of your being, is an unshakable peace. The sanctuary of silence is no longer a destination you must retreat to. It has become your portable home. You carry this still point of the turning world within you. External chaos may still occur, the world will continue to be the world, but it no longer penetrates to your core. You can be in the midst of a heated argument and notice, with a sense of wonder, a profound stillness at the center of your being. You can receive bad news and feel the initial shock and sadness on the surface, while being aware of a deep, undisturbed peace in the depths below. You have become the calm eye of the hurricane. This peace is not a fragile, delicate thing. It is a resilient, powerful peace, forged in the fires of your self-exploration. It is the peace that passeth all understanding, and it is the bedrock upon which your entire life is now built. The fourth sense is a feeling of profound and loving interconnectedness. Having seen yourself in the mirror of the other, the illusion of your separateness has crumbled. You no longer walk through the world as an isolated ego in a bag of skin. You feel your connection to everything. The people, the animals, the trees, the planet itself. A quiet, baseline love becomes your default state. You look at a stranger on the street and feel not suspicion, but a quiet recognition. You see their struggles, their hopes, their humanity, and you wish them well. Judgment is replaced by curiosity. Fear is replaced by a gentle, open-hearted goodwill. This is compassion in its fully embodied, lived state. It is not something you have to practice anymore. It is simply how you see. But what of the difficult world? Does grace mean you simply float through life in a blissful haze? Grace is not fragile. It is fiercely resilient. Let us see how grace moves through the inevitable hardships of life. In conflict, grace does not mean you become a doormat. It means you can wield the surgeon's scalpel with love. You can state your truth with unshakable clarity. You can set a boundary with immense firmness. But you do so without the toxic energy of blame or hatred. You can say no to a behavior while saying yes to the soul of the person before you. You can be in profound disagreement with someone without being in a state of inner war. Your peace is not dependent on their agreement. In loss, Grace does not mean you do not feel pain. It means you are not afraid of your own grief. You allow the great waves of sadness to move through you, to wash you clean. You do not try to suppress them or intellectualize them away. You give yourself permission to mourn fully and authentically, but you do not mistake the wave for the ocean. You do not fall into the story of permanent despair. You feel the pain of the loss, while simultaneously holding the deeper truth of life's eternal cycles of death and rebirth. In failure, grace does not mean you never make mistakes. It means you no longer define yourself by them. A failed project, a wrong turn, a broken commitment, these are no longer verdicts on your fundamental worth. They are simply data. They are lessons. They are the universe providing feedback on your course. A person living in grace can look at a failure, say, "Ah, that didn't work," feel any attendant disappointment without shame, and then ask with genuine curiosity, "What is the lesson here? What am I being invited to learn?" And then they get back into the dance. To live in this way is to embody a new kind of freedom. But what is the purpose of this state? Is it merely for your own personal comfort and enjoyment? The river does not flow just for itself. In the very act of being a river, it nourishes the banks, it waters the trees, it provides a home for the fish, it quenches the thirst of the animals, it gives life simply by being what it is. In the same way, a life lived in grace becomes a natural source of nourishment for the world. You are not trying to be a teacher, but your clarity teaches. You are not trying to be a healer, but your peace heals. You are not trying to be a leader, but your integrity leads. You have stopped practicing the principles you have learned on this journey because you have become the principles themselves. You have become a walking, breathing embodiment of presence, compassion, and truth. This effortless state of being, this role of giving life simply by living your own, leads you to your final, most natural, and most powerful function in the world. You are not a preacher on a stage or a general on a battlefield. You are something far quieter, far more humble, and far more essential. You have become the lighthouse keeper. You have learned to move with the sublime rhythm of grace. You have become the river, flowing through the landscape of your life with a new sense of ease, trust, and harmony. You feel your own peace, and you sense how it nourishes the world around you, effortlessly and without agenda. And so you arrive at the final understanding of your role, the ultimate purpose of this long journey inward. It is a role that your ego, with its desire for grandiosity and heroism, may not immediately recognize. For you are not being called to be a savior, a guru, or a warrior. You are being called to something far quieter, far more humble, and infinitely more powerful. You are being called to become the lighthouse keeper. For so long, we have believed that our purpose was to fix the world. We saw the ships tossing in the stormy seas of confusion and fear, and we believed our duty was to become a tugboat. The tugboat is a vessel of immense effort. It rushes out into the storm, it braves the chaotic waves, it attaches its lines to the other struggling ships, and, with great force and a tremendous expenditure of its own fuel, it attempts to push and pull them into the safety of the harbor. This is the path of the rescuer, the fixer, the codependent. It is a life of frantic activity, of entanglement in the dramas of others, of constant struggle against the storm. The tugboat captain often becomes so consumed with saving every other ship that they neglect their own maintenance, and they find themselves stranded and powerless when their own fuel runs out. Many of us have lived the life of the tugboat, believing it to be a noble calling. But today, you are invited to let that strenuous role go. You are invited to embrace a different, more effective, and more sustainable way of being. You are invited to become the lighthouse. Consider the nature of the lighthouse. It has one and only one function: to shine. It stands on the solid rock of the shore, unwavering and steadfast. It does not rush out into the sea. It does not shout instructions at the passing ships. It does not judge the worthiness of their cargo or the skill of their captains. It does not worry if the ships are paying attention. It does not feel resentment if its light is ignored. Its entire purpose, its entire integrity, is fulfilled in the simple, constant, and faithful act of being a source of light in the darkness. This is your purpose now. Your primary spiritual practice is no longer about striving, seeking, or becoming. Your journey of becoming is complete. Your practice now is simply one of being the authentic, peaceful, and compassionate presence that you have discovered at your core. Your main work is no longer out in the stormy seas of the world. It is within the quiet, solid walls of the lighthouse itself. The lighthouse keeper's most important duties are internal. Their job is to meticulously polish the great lens so the light can shine without distortion. Their job is to ensure the lamp is always filled with fuel. Their job is to maintain the machinery so the light turns steadily, illuminating all directions. This is a direct metaphor for your ongoing inner work. Polishing the lens is the practice of maintaining your clarity, of seeing the world through the compassionate eyes you have cultivated, free from the distortions of judgment and fear. Checking the fuel is the sacred practice of replenishing your well, of ensuring that you are constantly drawing from the fountains of stillness, nature, beauty, and joy, so that your own energy never runs dry. Maintaining the machinery is the daily, moment-to-moment commitment to your practices, your meditation, your presence, your conscious choice to remain centered. You cannot serve the ships from a dark lighthouse. Your devotion to your own inner light is your greatest service to the world. Let us explore the technology of how the lighthouse works its magic. The lighthouse does not save the ships. The light does not reach out and grab the helm of a struggling vessel. The captain of each ship is sovereign. They make their own choices. The light simply provides a single, unwavering point of reference in the vast, confusing darkness. By seeing the light, the captain can instantly know their own position. They can see where they are in relation to the dangerous rocks of their own ego. They can see the safe passage into the harbor of their own truth. The light empowers the captain to save themselves. This is how your effortless influence works. By simply being a steady, unwavering beacon of authenticity and peace, you do not give people answers. You become a reference point that helps them find their own. In the clarity of your presence, people begin to see themselves more clearly. Your peace makes them aware of their own inner turmoil. Your self-acceptance highlights their own self-judgment. Your compassion exposes the parts of them that are crying out for their own love. You do not need to point these things out. Your light does the work for you. You empower them to become the captains of their own ships, the masters of their own lives. This is a far greater gift than trying to steer their ship for them. To embrace this role is to let go of the ego's need for a dramatic and heroic story. It is to find the profound power and dignity in a quiet, steady, and often anonymous service. The world is not suffering from a shortage of busy tugboats, frantically pushing and pulling at each other, creating more churn and chaos in the water. The world is suffering from a shortage of lighthouses. It is starved for clear, steady, reliable points of truth, peace, and sanity that people can orient themselves by. Your purpose is not to save the world. Your purpose is to be a light in the world, and to trust, with a faith that runs deeper than all logic, that the world, filled with souls who are all seeking the harbor, will know what to do with your light. So, this is not an end. It is a graduation. It is a commissioning. The entire journey of this audiobook, the excavation of the self, the healing of the wounds, the cultivation of presence, has been the process of building your lighthouse. You have cleared the ground of the false self. You have built a strong tower on the solid rock of your own being. You have installed the powerful lamp of your awakened consciousness, and you have polished its lens with the soft cloth of compassion. You have filled the reserves with the fuel of your daily, replenishing practices. Your lighthouse is built, your training is complete. The real work, the simple, beautiful, and joyful work of shining now begins. This is not the end of the journey. This is the first day of your new life as the lighthouse keeper. And all that is left is to stand your post, to be who you are, to tend to your inner flame, and to trust completely in the silent, steady power of your light. Let us, in our final moments together, summarize the simple truth of this new life you have earned. You have walked the long road inward. You have journeyed past the frantic actor on the stage, through the chilling echo chamber of fear, and into the deep, restorative quiet of the sanctuary. You have learned to read the sacred compass of your own soul. You have healed yourself with radical acceptance, and you have discovered the grace of a life lived in flow. You have arrived, not at an end, but at the true beginning. You have arrived at the door of the lighthouse. You have stepped inside. You have accepted your post. Your life is no longer a problem to be solved, a battle to be won, or a performance to be perfected. Your work is now simple. Your work is to tend to the light. The world will continue to be a stormy sea. The ships will continue to struggle in the darkness, their captains filled with fear and confusion. You will feel the winds. You will hear the crashing waves. But you are no longer a struggling ship. You are not the frantic tugboat. You are the steady, unwavering tower, built on the solid rock of your own being. Do not be tempted to leave your post. Do not believe that your work is out there, in the chaos of the storm. Your work is right here. Your work is to keep your own inner lamp burning brightly. Your work is to keep the lens of your perception polished with compassion. Your work is to ensure that your light is never dimmed by the exhaustion of overgiving or the darkness of resentment. This is your service. This is your purpose. It is a quiet, humble, and profoundly powerful calling. On the days when you feel the old pull of the world, the temptation to put on the mask again, the desire to be impressive, or the fear that you are not doing enough, I want you to return to this simple truth. Let it be your anchor. Let it be your vow. Repeat it to yourself until it becomes the rhythm of your breath. I don't need to be impressive. I only need to be real. My presence is my power. Let this be the mantra that calls you home. The first line releases you from the prison of the ego. The second line grounds you in the simple glory of your authenticity. And the third line reminds you of the deep, quiet magic you have cultivated. Your power no longer resides in what you do, but in the simple, radiant truth of who you are. There is nothing more to learn. There is only a life to be lived. A life of quiet dignity, of simple presence, of effortless influence. All that is left now is for you to inhabit the peace you have so bravely earned. So take a deep breath. Feel the solid ground beneath you. Feel the steady, quiet flame within your own heart. This is you. This is your light. Now, go and shine.